you getting yourself ready for our show?
Everybody, hope all you guys are having a great week. It is Happy Independence Day, everyone. We're recording this right now on the 5th of July. That is the day that Independence Day is being observed. So nobody should have had to gone to work today. I hope you enjoyed it, everybody. Anyway, we have some amazing stuff going on. The last 7 days have been action-packed. Both Sean and myself have not been around Western Massachusetts at all. We're going to fill in the details as to exactly what the hell we were up to and what's been going on. Lots of great stuff, though, a whole lot more fishing on Sean's end and a whole lot more debauchery on my end. I think that's probably the best way to put it. We've got an amazing show for you today. It's July, so that means that the Jigs and Bigs multi-species tournament is happening, and it also means that the Chronic Trips multi-species tournament for June has just ended. We've got information on both of those, plus a great Just the Tip and a great Fuck This Guy segment for you. You're not going to want to miss out, guys. We'll be back right after this. Good Tuesday morning, everybody. I hope you guys are ready for an amazing show. We have a great one for you. You guys probably don't realize this, but since the dawn of this show, Sean the Fisherman has always been remote. Always. From his first interview to then when we would record the Sean the Fisherman stuff, it's been a rare occasion that Sean the Fisherman has been in person on this show, in the same room as I am putting this together. And now he's really remote. He's time zones away, actually. Sean, where in the world are you?
You got to find me on a map. I'm wearing a red and white striped shirt. We can do that?
We can do that, yeah. Where's Sean? Oh goodness! So
I'm not up the Shears.
Not up the Shears. No, a little further away.
And I'm definitely not in Chicopee. So we'll go from there.
Yeah, those are two. I'll save you guys a couple of places to where you can look. I would like to actually, before we get into reviewing the tournament stuff for this kickoff week for the July multi-species, my adventures and your adventure, Sean. I need to say this right off the bat. Sean, you have done a blue ribbon job of pissing off so many of the Hooks and Hoodlums pro staff today.
Well, I guess let me tell you about my day. Let me tell you how my day went.
Okay,
then.
Let's start there. We'll start there.
So usually that chat, when it starts every morning, it's usually 1, 2, or 5 people saying, good morning, fuck you, good morning, fuckers, fuck you, good morning. There's like 8 FUs in there. Right?
Something like that, yep.
My morning started with a picture being sent, because I was on a lake where I'm at, of a 35 3/4 inch northern pike that dragged me around a lake for a little bit. And I said, look what I got. Side note on that pike, this is the first fish, because I pulled that fish from up deep. This is the first fish I've ever had to fizz in my life. I've never fizzed a fish before.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that.
Well, I'm always fishing shallow. So
yeah, true.
When I released the pike, he or she took off, and then within a minute was floating belly up, still breathing, not dead, but stomach was very distended from all the gases that whatever happens, I know it's a fish equivalent of the bends.
Yeah.
And I tried to get her flipped over a couple of times. Didn't work. She was still breathing. And I straightened out a 5/0 hook and went to town on that mass of gas inside of her and popped it. And she, after a couple minutes of resuscitation, she was fine. Swam off on her way. Didn't see her.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So that was part one. I did finish the day on a small body of water that I've never fished before.
Yep.
And I ended up coming home and cooking for my in-laws and, all of my gathered wife's family.
Yep.
That's here. I had some largemouth that I picked up from a lake yesterday and made a bunch of pizzas out of them.
Nice.
Did not realize how sensitive some of the Hookset Pro staff was.
I know.
About eating bass, and you know me, and I've said it on the show. I don't keep trophies. I keep
No.
12 to 14 inchers.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt the population. If anything, it gives more. That's a drain on resources that are no longer there for the trophy fish.
Exactly.
I think the biggest one I had was 13 inches.
It's almost like you're playing the role of pond manager at that point, when you cull responsibly and you take you keep some that are within that safe window, or that I don't know, within that appropriate window to keep, Plus, the smaller ones taste better.
Yeah, and bass gets put on a pedestal as the number one game fish in America, and rightfully so. Everyone fishes for largemouth and smallmouth, but they also get knocked as being a bad tasting fish, or at least mild. I like them. You've had my fish pizzas. You've had some of my fish fry, right?
Oh yeah.
So. Yep. My thought is I'm out fishing for bass. I would not say in any way, shape, or form there is a shortage of 12 to 14-inch fish anywhere in the country. No. So let me help the big ones get bigger.
That's exactly.
I do my part.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like you want to obviously clear out the ones if you have any type of a large population of those small fish, it is a detriment on the trophies, the ones that have those great genetics, and you want to be able to keep them living. Like, you gotta free up the food. And part of that is, that's, if you don't do it, Mother Nature will. That's the thing.
Exactly. And I still stay within all regulations.
Yeah.
I think it's 5 up here. It's 5 in Massachusetts a day. You can't take any more. And I don't think I've taken more than 15 bass this year.
Yeah.
To be quite honest.
And that's exactly it. There are people there who overstep a little bit and take far more than their own share, way beyond a limit. Those are not fishermen. They're assholes. You know what I mean? They're definitely like reaping a ridiculous harvest. But no, I got a lot of chuckles on. I got back into my car. I went out fishing today for a little while, and I got back in the car and was catching up on that thread after I had updated my my trip, my notes for the trip. And I'm looking at this. And I'm like, wow, he really managed to piss off quite a number of people with this, and like putting pictures of the pizzas, pictures of the pan. I was like,
there were videos.
That was a video. I don't think I had the service to see it.
Oh, there are videos. The best one was
okay.
The best one was there was one particular hookset hoodlum that did that really kind of hit. It was all joking. I don't think anybody was super upset. But one of them was saying, called me a heathen, Steve.
Yep. That's right.
Steve.
That's right.
Called me a heathen. So what I did was, it wasn't a picture of the fish frying. It was a video of me laughing over the fish frying diabolically for about 5 seconds, and then I clipped it.
That's freaking genius, man. Oh, goodness. Oh, that is good stuff. Yes.
Bring it up on your phone and play it for the folks, because it's pretty fun.
You know what? You go ahead, give us a little bit more of your week. Why don't we get through your week in review, because mine is going to be pretty quick to get through, because there was zero fishing at all in my week. So why don't you go ahead and jump in that? I'm going to try and find this clip.
Oh wow! All right. Well, I'm looking at my notebook here because it's been a long week.
It has. There's been update after update that I've received.
Yeah.
And it's no shortage of action.
Where I'm at in the upper Midwest, the largemouth do get to a good size, but the smallmouth out here are supposedly better. And I am not at a smallmouth body of water. So I've been focusing on largemouth and pike and bowfin. Bowfin being the elusive prize because they're bigger and more vicious than the bass out here. So I haven't had any problems getting on the pike. I mean, today the 35-incher was the biggest one I got. I've cracked 20. Let me think. So I cracked 20 inches at least 10 times. So, I mean, they're out there, they're biting, and I've lost quite a few lures. So they're active. But the weirdest thing I've seen so far was, I think maybe 5-6 days ago, the wind shifted east in the morning, and we're on the east side of the lake. The cabin is on the east side of the lake. So that gave a nice bit of glassy water going out, maybe a tenth of the way across the lake. And as I've mentioned before, there's kind of like a shelf with rice paddies on it, with rice stalks that are sticking out, and then the weeds just drop and it goes real quick to 15 feet. At that break where it went from 4 feet to 15, I don't think I've ever seen that many bowfin just sitting there staging, waiting for something. And that was one morning. It was like every 20 feet, I saw another 24 inch to 30 inch bowfin just sitting there staring at me. Now, bowfin for me, I've caught like 4 of them in my life.
Yep.
And they're all of them from Minnesota. So getting them to chase a lure, depending on the lure, it seems to be very difficult. They seem to really, really like to go after Zoom horny toads.
Okay.
Which they don't seem to be able to hit them properly, like a bass or even pike have problems with it, but like a bass can smack a topwater no problem.
Yeah.
Pike sometimes will miss, pickerel will miss. The bowfins seem to like chase after them, kind of like, oh hey, bass and pike, well, you guys can chase topwater, so can I. And they're just not good at it. So what I've found is when they really come after you, you get this wave. And it looks like a submarine coming up from the depths.
Yep.
Coming right behind the Zoom horny toad. As soon as it gets close enough, I'll stop reeling. And that'll drop it right in front of their mouths.
Yep.
And
they
sometimes
can grab
they'll bite it, sometimes they won't. Yeah, and it's really difficult to get them to hit and really set the hook. So this trip, I had a real issue that I wasn't aware of until the moment that I dropped that Zoom horny toad in front of a bowfin. When I set the hook, my reel, something in on the interior gave, and you just heard gears go woo, and I got no hook set whatsoever. It was it was like the bail was open, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
So that was the only bowfin that I really felt I had a shot at, and that thing looked like a brute. So I'm back to going after that, but it's been nice. I do have my vehicle up here, so I've been kind of pond hopping, which I've never done before. I actually just came back from, like I said, a new pond that I tried this morning, or new lake I tried this morning. I tried another one yesterday. I'm using the Minnesota DNR's what is it? It's kind of like our species finder, where it gives a list of the lake and what's in each body of water, et cetera. Because I'm looking for smallmouth for the Jigs and Bigs tournament.
For the tournament, sure.
And and I was at one today that supposedly does, and I could see it. It was a lot rockier and a lot less weedy. So I could see that there probably are smallmouth there. And the DNR had said that there were smallmouth sampled there, and it was bizarre that there weren't any little ones, but there were big ones.
Really?
So like they had, when they electroshocked the place, they found plenty at like bigger than 14 inches, in particular, a lot more than should have been over 17 inches.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The small ones were like non-existent, but there were plenty of small largemouth. And that's all I caught there today was largemouth, and then that enormous pike.
Yep.
So yeah, it's been fun. A lot of fishing, a lot of family stuff. Vacation, man, you know how it goes. And by the way, happy America Day to you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Happy America Day to everybody. I did find that video.
Oh, you did?
I did. And I'm going to make sure that my volume is up. And I am going to obviously need to download this and then use it later in the show, because that is freaking hilarious.
just with
these
fillets sizzling.
Fillets. Oh, that's awesome, dude. Oh,
thanks for the inspiration, Steve. I owe you one.
That's hilarious. Oh, dude, I love it. Oh. And, the thing is, your pizzas are freaking fire. They're great.
They're good.
They're so good. Yeah, no. I have had your fish fry. What the hell am I talking about? The fish sandwiches with the Nando's.
We made fish sandwiches.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right.
No, damn good stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, so, yeah, I mean,
I can cook a bass.
Yeah, you can. You can cook a bass. Good job. And, I mean, you do so, you harvest responsibly. That's the whole thing. There is nothing that tastes better than I'll say a nibbler size largemouth through the ice. In cold
good.
water, they're the best tasting. Like there's nothing better. Now again, like, there are heathens out there, but I feel like this is one of those opportunities where if you gut hook a fish and there's no saving it, like, don't waste it. I mean, you're never really wasting it. Snapping turtle, something's gonna get it. But make a pizza.
My thought is, like, I don't have any issues with eating like red meat or chicken or, I have no issues whatsoever.
Yeah.
But if I were to put them in order, I am a seafood guy first. I love eating fish. And then, believe it or not, I actually like poultry after that. And then red meat. I have no problem eating a steak.
Yeah.
I just limit it. You know what I mean? I'll have, like how you and I were talking about that Brazilian steakhouse a couple towns north of us.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I look for the steak there. That steak's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Man, but so my thought was always, my thought was always, I'm not a trout fisherman.
Yep.
And I'll occasionally catch panfish, crappie, bluegill, whatever. I have no problem eating those, but I'm a bass fisherman, and bass is not that bad to eat.
Yeah, it's really not.
I'm not keeping 5-pounders. Yeah. I'm not keeping 4-pounders. I'm not keeping 3s. Maybe 16 inches is tough to get a 2-pounder out of, even if it's fat.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm keeping 1-pounders or less.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I think that's the responsible way to do it. So the big question is, where has Bobby Roast Beef been? And I don't think it's actually that big of a question, because I've been posting pictures on the Jigs and Big story the entire time. I have been in Las Vegas for the last week. I worked at the nightclub and bar show for speed quizzing. That was insane. I've never worked a convention before where there was so much free alcohol being passed to every attendee. It was unbelievable. My wife came with me for this trip, and it's, she just took this new job that has this sweet schedule. So she's got some time off over the summer, which is a first in a long time. So, we made the arrangements and we stayed a few days extra. So, I told her, I was like, during the show, like, it's work. I gotta do what I gotta do. But afterwards, we'll take a few days and we'll have a great time. This was Mrs. Roast Beef's first trip on an airplane ever. Yeah, first time she's ever flown. It was also the first time she's ever been out of the Eastern time zone.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think she's ever gone outside of the Eastern time zone. Yeah. That sounds about right. But it was, she had a blast. We had a great time. We ate a lot of awesome food. We went to some really great restaurants. I definitely checked the steak box multiple times this week. We went to, we gambled a bit, which was good. We went out and we gambled a bit. We lost a lot of money. We lost more than I think we were planning, but we had a real good time. I did get some pictures in front of some Las Vegas like staples that I'll be using for social media posts in the future.
Awesome.
And I never realized, I don't think I ever shared my love of this cocktail before in my life, but it's got a few different names, but essentially what the drink is it's like any beer of your choice with Clamato. Clamato, for those that don't know, is tomato juice and clam juice. And it's wonderful. It's totally unique, and it's great. So the drink has a bunch of names. I think in Spanish it's called Michelada, and in Canada they call it a red eye. And it's tasty. And I had a 50-ounce red eye.
Oh, my God.
At the Venetian.
Oh.
It was delicious.
Taking a step back on your way out there.
Yep.
You had mentioned I was just thinking about it. You said your wife had never been out of the Eastern time zone, right?
Never.
So she did get to Central and then Mountain. So she saw 3 time zones because you guys had a layover, because I started receiving pictures one day.
Oh yeah.
Of a gentleman I know trying on Minnesota hats at Minneapolis, St. Paul.
I bought that hat. I needed a hat.
You bought it?
Yeah. I'm an idiot who had to buy a hat at an airport so I didn't burn my freaking skull in the Nevada sun.
Oh, I thought you tried that on in the airport and just to take a funny picture.
No. I had to buy that. I have it. It's in my suitcase.
Oh, that's even better.
Like, yeah. Although I'll tell you what, it was the worst possible hat to wear in the desert because it's all synthetic material. Like it's almost like it's wrapped in spandex.
Oh,
It was like 1,000,000 degrees. It was insane. And I'll tell you, so I got to be honest with you. Any other time I've been in the desert, anytime I've been in Vegas before, it's always been March, and it's delightful out there in March. It's great. I mean, here we're getting snow and ice dumped on us, and it's horrendous, but we are, that is a nice little break. We get there and it's like, maybe mid 60s, maybe it gets to be 70 degrees. Whoa, getting wild. It was 110 more often than not. At night, it got as low as like 88. But
I'm familiar with deserts, so
yeah,
yes.
you are exactly. It is a dry heat, but when you're in that sun and you're moving around, it'll frickin' like knock your frickin' jaw loose. It'll give you the Trebek treatment.
It'll kick your taint crooked.
It will for sure. It's nothing to be messed with. But we had a good time. It was a lot of fun. In fact, I didn't get to fish out there. I had numerous people reach out to me and say, "Hey, you do such and such a podcast. You should fish while you're out there. I can get you on, on some. We'll connect you with people that live in that area and know where to go." And I'm like, you know what? If I go out and fish, it's very likely I'll be getting a divorce. So I should probably refrain. And then the next time I go and travel out that way, maybe I'll go for it and give it a go. That was the initial plan in 2020 before the show got shut down and everything else. And we ended up taking this decade-long pause. That was the whole deal. That was my goal. I was going to go and work the show. We were actually doing 2 shows then. In between, I was going to take a day and go fish. It didn't work out, unfortunately, but I did have an interesting sort of exchange. So I had an Uber driver named Dawn, and Dawn and I had a great discussion. Sort of accidentally. When we set up the show, we had to go and make a run to pick up some supplies. We needed some extension cords. We also needed random items. Like we needed to get like candy. We were going to do giveaways with Smarties and Dum Dums for people that came over and did the demo game. And if they won, they got Smarties. If they're a loser, they got a Dum Dum. Team Dum Dum, like way more popular. But that was some of these things that we had to go and do, and in the Uber app we check the locations, and it doesn't really give them in the order of distance from you. Like it doesn't start with the closest one. So we would put in like Lowe's or Walmart or whatever. It didn't show up in that order. So we just kind of picked one because we're like, we don't know, whatever, we just picked one. Well, we had a nice long ride with Dawn out to like the Las Vegas suburbs. We went to this one plaza. We got all of our stuff. And on the way back, in like the last 10 minutes of the ride after we had dropped off the guy I work with, Bill, we dropped him off at his hotel, and she was dropping me off at the Sahara, and we're talking, and it came up because I was wearing a Jigs and Bigs t-shirt, and I was also wearing the mask I was wearing said, I think you've seen this before, I can't be held responsible for talking about striped bass fishing. It's got a big striper on it. And she's like, so let me guess, you like to fish? And I was like, oh, you don't even know the half of it. Absolutely, I do. She's like, oh, me too. She said, what do you fish for? I was like, bass primarily. I was like largemouth and smallmouth for the most part. She's like, oh, no kidding, me too. My ex-husband and I, he thought he was like a tournament pro, and had this long conversation, and she said something that cracked me up. She goes, she's like, we split up a while ago, but we still fish together. And I was like, oh, no kidding. That's pretty awesome, actually. She's like, yeah, when we were going through the divorce, he said that he wanted to keep the boat, and she's like, I almost made a stink about the boat, and then she goes, no, we still like to fish together. He can keep the boat. Now I don't have to fix it. And I'm like, you go, Dawn.
Bravo.
You got access to the boat, and you don't have to. I was like, that is fantastic. But she's like, yeah, she's like, he said, I guess he said afterwards, he's like, the worst thing about this divorce is that nobody buys me fishing tackle for Christmas anymore. Because she knew what to get.
You had told me about that story, a couple days ago,
Yep.
and I was pretty blown away at that. I said they got divorced and they still fish. That's amazing, to be quite honest. Hey, fishing binds, man.
Fishing binds. That's how it works. I wonder if that's written into like the alimony and stuff like that. Okay, so 3 times a month we have to fish at a body of water that's X amount of acres, or
Well, I wonder if they're still like partners in tournaments, because that shit could get heated.
That could get really heated. One wrong move, and then you're just like, son of a bitch. Get the lawyer on the
Yeah,
We're going to mediation.
that's crazy. Yeah. I had a moment out here. It doesn't belong. It's not an FTG segment.
All right.
It was really funny. I actually sent you a message when it happened saying, call me. And I know you were probably busy, but I had a Clerks moment. Sometimes things happen in art that real life reflects, no matter how long after the art has been published or whatever. The scene in Clerks I'm referring to is the "Do you have anything for sale?" segment.
Oh, yes.
So I was on a lake yesterday, and on the side of my kayak, and I think the logo itself is 2 feet long, where it says Native Slayer Propel Max. Mm-hmm. Hey, what kind of boat is that? I was just laughing. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, guy. I'm like, it's a Native.
It's a plastic one.
It's a Slayer. And I kind of pointed at it. I wasn't a dick about it because he's like, oh, thanks. All right.
It's nice looking boat. What kind of fucking boat is that? Speaking of boats, your boys' Lawrence unit arrived at Three Bells.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we're getting a little bit closer. That's going to be really exciting. Very, very excited about that. Excited to get out on the Titan, and actually I've been finagling ways to get more life into the GoPro than the GoPro batteries. I've been fooling around with this external battery that I've been using. I'm hoping I can go and document some really, really great stuff. Derek has been awesome when it comes to the rigging questions, and believe me, I've had plenty of them. Lots of questions. Diagrams have been exchanged back and forth. So I'm really excited about this. I think this is going to be pretty fantastic. Should be a lot of fun. Speaking of Three Bells, it's today as we record this, it is the 5th. That means they are 11 days away from the trifecta.
Yep.
Trifecta weekend, folks. If you're in the Northeast, or you want to be in the Northeast to fish a 3-day-long saltwater fishing tournament in beautiful Niantic, Connecticut, you should do so. Check out Three Bells. Contact them via their social media. Reach out, and it's on Fishing Chaos. Check it out and sign up. I'm not sure how many anglers they have currently right now, but it's getting down to it. And the price of entry is totally worth it, if nothing for the grab bag alone. Like the swag bag that comes with your entry is freaking dynamite. So take this opportunity and check out Trifecta. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Even if you're not necessarily super crazy, or even if you've never saltwater fished from a kayak before, why not go ahead and give it a shot? From what I understand, a lot of this tournament is a lot of camaraderie, not just competition. So I'm really excited for that. It's going to be awesome. They've got this banging party that's happening afterwards on the Sunday. There's a little reception that's going on. Whole lot of fun, and I hear they've got some pretty good entertainment, from what I understand.
I hear it's hosted by the smoothest fishing voice this side of the Mississippi, one each Bobby Roast Beef,
That's
a.k.a. Robert Prosciutto.
Robert Prosciutto.
I'll be there. I'll be drinking coffee all day. 3 days in a row, coffee drinking. It's going to be great. I didn't realize that was going to be good.
So good. It's perfect. Yeah, it was. It's been an interesting week. I'm very glad to be home. We got home late Saturday night. We were in the Midwest for a 3-hour layover, which sucked. It was awful. But got on our flight back and headed back. I think actually we arrived there. And then we got a late start because there was an issue with our plane. It was definitely just a crazy weekend in total, because we came back, slept that night once we got back, woke up in the morning, picked up the dogs, and then picked up the children, and then after that we had a barbecue to go to for the 4th with some friends, which was great. We had a great time seeing all of them, and I like, we've been so busy. I don't think I've felt any jet lag or anything.
Nice.
Unless it's just catching up with me now, because who knows. Had
I known you were going to be on a layover, a couple hours away, I may have stopped down there and said hello. But the 4th of July, you brought that up with what went on. So out here, because everything's so flat comparatively to the East Coast, we get to see usually a number of towns' fireworks from the lake. You can go out on the lake, and I usually go. There's one particular, the closest fireworks display is the lodge and golf course.
Yep.
Right down the street. It's a huge facility, and they put a lot of money into their fireworks display. So the last time we were up here a couple years ago or 3 years ago, we went to the my wife and my kids and I and some of my wife's family went to the golf course, and they have a big cookout and everything for 4th of July before the fireworks, and bounce houses and all sorts of shenanigans going on, fire bombs, juggling knives, you name it.
Oh yeah.
And it was just hot the last time we went. I'm like, yeah, maybe next time I'm going to pass. So the next year for those fireworks, I was out night fishing when they were going on, and I realized that was the best seat in the house because one town's fireworks display ended, and then I basically pivoted 30 degrees in the boat, and another one started.
That's awesome.
So this one, with the golf course going on Friday night on the 2nd, I was right underneath it, and it gets dark here about like 9:30.
Yep.
9:30 to 10 is really dusk, and boats were starting to fill up our portion of the lake, like pontoon boats, recreational boats of all different types, at like 7. So the most boats I've ever seen in this lake was probably 10. And I think there was no less than 75 boats in there, not even counting me in my kayak. And I had the light on, and I was just sitting there right before the fireworks started. I was still throwing lures around. I landed a 17-inch bass pulling a frog around at night. And then the fireworks started, and it was great.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, I get to watch the fireworks from the kayak. It was pretty nice.
That is freaking awesome, man. We had very little for fireworks that happened around here. A bunch of yahoos running around and blowing stuff off in their yard here, which was pretty much it. In fact, I think this is the second straight year where they've canceled the local fireworks in Holyoke. It is what it is. Nothing you can do about it. I shared an image. I shared an image on Facebook. No, on Instagram. And I'm going to show you what that image is from a film. Do you know who that guy is?
I can't see so well. There's a little bit of reflection. Is that? I can't see. Is that Joe Pesci?
No, it's not Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci is in that movie. One of the films I watched on the ride back, on the flight back, was Goodfellas. I haven't seen Goodfellas in a minute. I've probably seen that movie 100 times. That is Johnny Roast Beef.
Oh, okay.
Johnny Roast Beef saw an untimely end, and I actually almost forgot that he was in that movie. And I was, oh yeah, that's right, Johnny Roast Beef. He's gonna die. That's what happens. We have a brand new month in front of us, folks. July is here, and with that means that we have the Jigs and Bigs multi-species tournament for this month. It's live and it's happening. We're only 5 days in, but there's almost 40 catches that have come through. We've got, 20 anglers already logged in. And one thing that I think I have noticed is a lot of people like to seem to join this when they're out fishing. They'll get a decent catch. They'll take their pictures, do their measurements, whatever, and then sign in. Remember, guys, you need that identifier in your pictures in order to have them submitted properly. So you need that identifier. Join the tournament right away. So that way you're not waiting there like, oh, snap, I got to add this. I missed a step. You got to get that identifier and have it all set. So that said, we have, with only 5 days, it's been pretty good. And locally in New England, the weather has not been great. It's been all over the place. It's been unstable. So the fishing in New England has been crazy. What's the heat been like in Minnesota? I never saw actual natural air. Everything I saw was generated from the airport. So
we've had 1 or 2 days over 90, but it's been mid 80s every day.
All right. That's not too bad. Not too bad.
No, it's been steady. I think there was 1 day of storms, and I think we're getting storms midweek here. But no, it's been pretty steady. And I welcome storms. I like me. I like fishing in bad weather. So.
Yeah. But it shakes things up. It's not a bad thing. We landed here and it had been earlier in the week, high 80s, 90s with, some extreme humidity, like, summer, like we like to say. Out here, when we landed, it was 57 degrees. And it's been really cool. Like it was supposed to get up to 80 today. I don't think it's going to. And it's, I went out fishing today and it took me, I was out for 6 hours. And I think the only hookups I had all day all came in that last 45 minutes.
Oh, did you get anything?
3 real small ones. A 7, a 9, and 11.
Yeah, that sucks. Oh, you could have turned in the 9 and the 11. That would have been 2 for your 95.
Yeah, but I was like, I'm not too concerned. Just out having a good time. Went to. I was going to take out the kayak, but then I just had a hard time sleeping last night. So I said, you know what? I'm going to get a little bit. I'm going to get an extra hour instead of because I hadn't loaded up the kayak previously. The plan only came together that night, and I'm like, I'm not going to do this in the dark. I'll hold out till tomorrow, whatever. And I decided we'd just do a little bank mission, but it's good stuff. I actually have to message Paul because I left, and he may still even be out there.
So, side note about not sleeping.
Yeah?
Two nights ago, so with my in-laws having the new house built, they knocked down their old house. It was a very, very old house, and the foundation was starting to slip. So they had it knocked down. They sold their other house.
Yep.
They live permanently at their cabin. So the bedrooms have like a queen and a double in each one, or a queen and a twin, right? So one of our sons, my youngest son, is sleeping in the same bedroom as us. Mm-hmm. And my wife occasionally talks in her sleep, right? My son also occasionally talks in his sleep. I am not shitting you. 3 nights ago. Now, I wake up at the drop of a pin. Like I'm
light of a sleeper?
Yeah, I am extremely light. I wake up for anything. My son starts talking and yelling about something in gibberish. My wife answered him back. They had a gibberish conversation at 3 o'clock in the morning. And then here's the best thing. I have my CPAP on, and I'm Darth Vader yelling, "Shut the fuck up. Go to sleep, you two assholes. Shut up. I'm trying to sleep."
That's awesome, man.
No, it's not. Not at all.
I was going to ask if they were having conversations. I didn't realize that's where this is going. Holy shit.
I come back in from fishing that morning, and my wife's like, "Hey, how was the day?" I'm like, you and our son are pricks.
Exactly.
They're like, well, she's like, "Why?" I go, "You guys were talking in your sleep and talking to each other." They were going back and forth. It was so messed up. I've never seen anything like that.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That is, oh, man.
Yeah. Screw that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a bit that's tough, man. And it does, like, I'm a deep sleeper, which is not always a great thing. Like, it's if I get to sleep, I'm out, and I'll sleep until I wake up or my alarm goes off or anything. But you know, in the like, there are plenty of nights where I'm just like, I didn't hear that fire truck go by at 3 a.m. Sirens blaring, like nothing. I don't know.
You live 3 towns over from me, and I would have heard that fire truck and woken up
probably
in your town. You would have been like, "Oh, I'm sleeping through it." Nope, not me. Yep. I would have been up, running around, going, "What the hell? Fire! Run!"
I remember when we moved into the house. Now we still live in the same town, but where we lived before, we had a main drag that went up to I-91 right by us, and we would get trucks all night long, Harleys that would go. You get loud motorcycles and stuff. Like, and I would sleep fine through that. It took me about 3 months in the summer. Like the first summer that we had where like the windows were open and everything. And I was like, holy shit, this is so loud. After we got to the end of that summer, I think I was good. I was fine. Fast forward to when we bought the house. I remember sleeping here the first night and thinking, it's too goddamn quiet. I was like, it is too quiet. I feel like I'm sleeping back in Belchertown. Like this, like old school Belchertown, not now, like years ago. I'm like, it is too freaking quiet. This is crazy. And now it's just, I think it was just the contrast of both environments, because now I would think it is just as noisy as anywhere. Like, yeah. And, we've got the hospital too, not too far from us. So like, if there's an ambulance going by or something like that, we're definitely going to hear it.
Well,
what are you going to do?
At least you don't have any sleep talkers in your house.
No, that's true. That's true.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Well, we're like you said, we're 5 days into this.
Yeah.
So you want some updates here? You want some info? You want me to hit you with some funny shit? What do you want me to do?
You know what? Let's do this. Let's get like a little bit of a recap, not a full recap here, because we'll go over that when we talk about, because we've got chronic trips to talk about, and the the prizes and everything for how that whole monthly had turned out, and we'll get to the nitty gritty here. But what are some of the highlights that have been going on right now?
Well, I'm in Minnesota, and Jerry Howes is in this tournament. So those are probably the two biggest things you can say. I mean, yep. I'm hitting pike after pike after pike, and they're all going in the NE5. So you can kind of expect where that's going. And then Jerry just, I don't know, dude. Like nobody did this last year, what Jerry's doing. This is 3 tournaments or 4 tournaments in a row now between chronic trips and jigs and bigs, where he's just laying into every species.
Is he targeting because that's the thing, like Jerry's a tournament angler. So my brain automatically thinks like he must be out there targeting bass most of the time, but I mean, and like if these are bycatches, amazing bycatches, Jerry. Yeah. That is fantastic. I mean, but if he's targeting them, like my hat is off, because
he's doing great. He's got a brown trout on the board. He's got a rainbow trout on the board. Yep. I mean, Jerry doesn't screw around with this multi-species stuff. He's an animal. So now I didn't really want to say anything about how I was doing in Minnesota.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to mention, like, the last, 3 tournaments or 4 tournaments, whoever has jumped out in the first 2 weeks has not won it. Like,
it's usually like some underdog or just, you can never really predict the way the month is going to go, because, somebody can come from out of nowhere and just have a banger day, or a banger week, and it can make all the difference. And then like we've said over and over again, with this tournament and this style of tournament, same thing goes for the chronic trips. If you're making progress, not only are you getting points and making progress, but you're taking points from other people ahead of you. So it's really kind of cutthroat the way this works.
Yeah, Jerry obviously got out this weekend. And I think what happened was, like, I was out every day, so I immediately amassed 25 points for no reason other than no one was turning anything in. I was getting first place for nibblers,
whatever species. Yeah.
And then Jerry went out fishing one weekend, and we're both tied now. So that's how that works. He knocked me down and brought himself up at the same time. That's and then awesome. As the more people get involved, the
crazier it'll get.
It levels everything out. I mean, this style of tournament is just so nuts, where, like, let's use that point to transition right now into chronic trips.
Yep.
The last week of the chronic trips, because of my preparations, and I had a lot of stuff going on the last half of the month, I was really unable to fish the last 2 weeks. So I fished the 2 weeks. I got out once or twice. I did what I could, but I played spoiler. And you know who my target was?
Who?
Nate Shagnon.
Nate Shagnon. That's right. That's right.
So we're in chronic trips. I think Nate was bouncing back and forth between 3rd and 4th with Berkshire Brett.
Yep.
Berkshire Brett did what I'm doing right now. He put up a bunch of pike.
Yep.
And Nate was in first place for pike. So if someone took first place from him, that would have taken a point away and then would have added points. Let's say it was me. I had an outside shot at catching 3rd.
Yeah.
And then I think Nate put up a big bass, and that was the end of that. Nate put up a 21 or a 20.5, whatever it was.
I do recall this being documented in the Hooksett Hoodlum Pro Staff chat
That was yeah, because I was out. That was my first 2 days in Minnesota. And
Yeah.
I was running my mouth saying, Nate, I've lost, but I'm going to take you down with me. And I had a running commentary for about 5 hours. Every time I caught a pike, I'm like, they're getting bigger, Nate. I'm coming for you, Nate. And he was sweating it. And most of the Hooksett Hoodlum chat believed that Nate was actually getting into a boat at 10 o'clock at night to try and catch a pike in Massachusetts somewhere just so I wouldn't get him. But I didn't succeed. I mean, I broke 20 inches 3 times that night, but I couldn't break 27. So Nate ended up winning. But had I broken that 27 and taken 1 point from him, put him in second, me in first.
Yep.
Let me segue this. Meanwhile, in the Carolinas, Nelson was down there catching sharks, which of course with chronic trips, it's fresh and salt water.
Yep.
So Nelson made a run at Nate and finished in 4th place. He bumped Brett from 4th to 5th. Nelson finished in 4th place, 1 point behind Nate. Had I managed to succeed in catching that pike, Nate once again would have been tied and would not have heard the end of it.
Oh my God.
Now, there are tiebreakers in place. He would not have been tied.
Yeah.
But, I would have really made a big deal out of it.
Oh, man, that is just freaking awesome. Hey, we got a great interview today.
We do.
We have a great interview. Brandon Heimericks, Dust Off Fishing on Instagram, is with us. And I did not realize some of the legendary waters that he regularly frequents. Pretty freaking amazing. So check this out. It's a doozy. It's a long one because we get into it. We hit it off and just, you know how it goes with some of these interviews. It's just down the rabbit hole of fishing, and that's just exactly what happened here. So he's got some great stuff. You're not going to want to miss this interview. It's coming up at the segment 3. I don't think we have anything to add here. We can go ahead and take a wrap and listen to a message from our good friends over at Old Glory Outdoors. Hey, Sean, did I tell you that my father loves his new spinning combo from Old Glory Outdoors? Absolutely loves it. Was taking casts with a Ned rig off the back deck at my sister's house, and he's just like, I have never, ever used a fishing rod that was so ridiculously sensitive and a reel that was so smooth. So he's looking forward to Champlain, man. This is happening.
Good.
Yeah, very much.
That's awesome.
Very excited.
I didn't ask, but I expected that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had a strong feeling. And, like I said, actually, I should have my father on this show. I should have him on the guest segment someday. I should definitely do that. That I think would be interesting because he is, he's a guy who has been all about the outdoors for my entire life. But he wouldn't really necessarily treat himself to some really, really quality gear. I treat myself, you know what I mean? A lot of our friends, we treat ourselves to nice equipment, and sometimes that gives you, dare I say, an advantage. No, I'm not going to say that.
Oh my God. Please don't open that can of worms again. I thought we'd laid that to rest.
But it's sometimes, it makes for, presenting a bait in the right sort of way, a little bit easier to achieve. If you're trying to get something done, having various, gear ratios can help you get that in order. Using the right tool for the job is really what it all gets down to. So I'm psyched for him. I think he's going to be good. I may have created a monster though, because he's like, so where is this shop? Oh, I'm going to take a ride out there and, and stock up. I'm like, there you go. Just remember, use promo code Jigs and Bigs, even in person.
Unlike my wife on Father's Day.
Yeah. Exactly. Awesome, guys. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with more Jigs and Bigs goodness after this quick message from Old Glory Outdoors. Jigs and Bigs is proud to announce we're being supported by Old Glory Outdoors. They're a veteran-owned company that carries fishing and hunting gear. Plus, they're highly active in supporting veteran organizations and charities. Old Glory is an authorized dealer of favorite rods, FX rods, Guggen baits, X-Zone lures, Sixth Sense, and many more. There's a brick-and-mortar store located in East Brookfield, Massachusetts, but you can also order online at oldgloryoutdoors.com. They ship anywhere in the lower 48 states or order online and pick up at the store. When you order, use the promo code JIGS and BIGS, and you'll save 10% off your complete order. Plus, you'll help support the show. Make sure to check out the apparel line called OGO Gear while you're there. Old Glory Outdoors believes in the slogan, "Start 'em young," to keep kids away from screens and enjoying nature. They've got a full array of live bait too. Check out oldgloryoutdoors.com and use the promo code JIGS and BIGS. Save some money and gear up now.
Bobby and Sean now have a special presentation for us all. They'd like to give everyone just the tip.
You know, I had somebody contact me and say that they love this new format. And they appreciate the different segments, just the tip and fuck that guy. And they appreciate the different elements here because they're like, yeah, it's entertaining. This show is entertaining. That's what it's meant for. But people, you can get something out of it as well. And the fact that you can kind of know about where that is in the show, if you're looking for something, it kind of makes it handy. So I think we've done a good job with this format.
After a year and a half or a year and a quarter of us being complete and utter hacks, we figured out we figured out how to do
something
things
that works
like adults. Yeah. This is good stuff. I like it.
Taking notes and such.
I know. I know. We're like adults. This is great. Well, I have a tip for everyone that's been fresh in my mind because of all the fishing I've been doing up here out in the Midwest and the large amount of recreational boats that I've been seeing. The recreational traffic's been crazy. And like I said in the past, my thought is that, the fish will recognize they start hearing motors. They're probably not going to be as zealous to bite a lure.
Yeah.
That you might throw by them. Sometimes they might not even be really close to the shore, especially not with lakes that don't have a lot of shore cover, a lot of weeds going up to the shore, or lakes that are treated with herbicides.
Yep.
You're just not going to see that cover. So where do they go? They go deep. That's the depth is a cover because the light's only going to penetrate so far. It's not like you're going to be, I know there's always going to be exceptions to the rule. You're going to go out west. There's going to be lakes in California and Utah that you can see the bottom in 50 feet of water. Most places aren't like that. So out here, I think the visibility is about 6 feet, 5 feet.
Yep.
And then once you get past that, you can't see anything. So what happens in this situation that I look at when the wreck boats are out and the skinny water is not a refuge for the bass, I pull back off the shore. So you can still see a lot of anglers that are still beating the bank as if it's spring, the fish are crashing whatever they can up on the shore. And it's just not the situation for it. It's not the way that I read that the water and read that the fish are behaving. So what I do is I pull back and I'm casting to the point, usually where the anglers are sitting on. So if you look on your fish finder, whatever sonar unit you're using, generally when I use mine, I don't look for fish. I don't track individual fish like that. I don't have the, what's the new system? The
Panoptics.
Thank you. I don't have Panoptics, so I'm not seeing individual fish chasing my lure. I'm looking for maybe one or two fish here and there at a certain depth or on a certain type of stroke. And I'm pulled off, and instead of casting in towards the shore, I'm running parallel with the shore and staying on that contour line wherever I feel the fish are. And if they're not there, maybe I move a little shallower, a little deeper, depending on where I started. Mm-hmm. But I'm not fan casting into shore. I'm fan casting parallel with the shore, trying to figure out what depth they're at.
Yeah.
And it makes a difference. So there's my tip is pull back, go deeper. And do it with a purpose and do it with structure. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No.
Your thoughts, sir?
I agree. I mean, there's a lot of people think in the summer, they're like, you deep cranking and you're throwing, big football head jigs, deep, like 3/4 ouncers. And, and deep is a relative term. I think that also has to be thrown out there too. Like, folks say deep, it's not anything 15 foot or more or anything, because every body of water is going to have what is deep for the most part. You might have some super deep pockets here and there, but maybe everything else is just a big shallow, flat, and so And like you said, there are exceptions to every rule. You will have, and there are fishermen who almost refuse to go deep. Like they're just going to work the bank because they know that they can, and they have the confidence to find those fish that are up shallow. It's if it works for you, then fantastic. But I agree. It's like, especially like, wreck boats. That's a really good point. They hear all that noise at the surface of the water. It's a good opportunity. Temperature aside, just to get into deeper water where they can have that cover and can't be seen. Now, I almost like your the suggestion you made about birds.
Yeah, I think birds, boats, they recognize them in some level as a predator. That's it. They don't want to be around them.
Yeah,
I don't blame them. I don't want to be around wreck boats either.
Who does? Who does these days?
And by the way, I sent a message today to somebody. I think I would like at this point pontoon boats to be reclassified as a subspecies of lake lice.
Yeah, fair.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they're like the queens.
Yeah, the queen bean.
Yeah, it's rough, man. It is rough. Pontoon boats, freaking. You got jet skis. Canoes are a lifestyle. What are you gonna do?
Canoes, straight out of Crumpton.
Straight out of Crumpton. I freaking love it, man.
Yep. So there's our tip for the day. Pull back a little bit if you're on a wreck lake.
Yeah.
See what happens. Go a little deeper.
You got to dig a little deeper.
You got to.
Oh, good stuff.
So we talked a little bit about it a minute ago, but I just want to go over real quick what happened in last month's Chronic Trips tournament.
Yep.
We got time for that. Do I have a theme song today?
Oh, yeah, you do.
Oh, my God. Last month's Chronic Trips it ended just in a great way. Like I said, I was on the outskirts chasing Nate Chagnon with some pike. It didn't happen, but Nate did end up wrapping up third place, a point over Nelson. Nelson had 17. Nate had 18 points. Berkshire Brett did finish with a nice, solid fifth place of 15. And, like we said, Jerry House has just been having a multi-species year.
Oh, yeah.
He finished in second place with 20. And the winner and new champion for Chronic Trips, Jesse Jones.
Jesse Jones?
Yeah. 26 points, and he was another competitor, just like our boy Nelson, that got on some shark. Yep. So great job, guys. Everyone did a great job. Couple other notes on the tournament. So the longest freshwater fish, Nate, 27 and 3/4 inch pike.
Yep.
Longest saltwater fish, Jesse Jones, 59-inch shark. First to 100 was Jerry House. First to 200 was Jesse Jones. And Jesse did make a run at 300. He got to 291. The mythical number stands. No one has cracked 300 inches.
300 inches in Chronic Trips.
In Chronic Trips. No one has cracked it. Man. It's been cracked in Jigs and Bigs.
Yes, it has.
But it's not been cracked in Chronic Trips, which is, it's kind of weird, don't you think? Like,
you would think with saltwater, it would be so easy. 5
sharks.
Yeah.
That's the 5 sharks could be 250 inches right there. And it hasn't happened. So the one other thing I want to mention, there was a number of records set. The big one was Jesse did set the new record for length with that 291. That was really phenomenal. Again, awesome. It's only a matter of time before 300 goes down. Nate set a record for perch. The shark record again was set by Jesse Jones.
Yep.
We had a drum entered in this. This contest. Yep, freshwater drum. Jesse also set another record. He put in his NE5. He put a pike minnow in. You ever seen what a pike minnow looks like?
This came up as a topic of conversation, either in the Hooks and Hoodlums chat or something similar. Yeah, I have heard of these. Tell our listeners though about them.
Well, it's in the minnow family. It's more related to a goldfish than it is a pike, but it's got an elongated body and elongated head.
Yep.
Hence the pike minnow term.
Gotcha.
So Jesse put one of those in, and as we know, if you put in a new fish, it sets the record. So there it is. Same thing. I also put in a fall fish. Finally, fall fish was put in. Love the fall fish. And then our guy, Derek from 3 Bells.
Nice.
Turned in a sea robin and a scup.
This surprised me. This is our first scup.
Nelson said he caught 1 million of them last year. And when I mentioned that Derek had turned one in, he goes, I caught 1 million. And he goes, I didn't even think to turn one in. I said, well, they're out there. So, I always try to put in species. The list of species stays pretty solid for chronic trips. I think we should really be including these species that are common, like little scups. Just throw them in there. What the hell? I mean, anybody can catch a scup, right? They're the bluegill of the sea. Why not?
That's a great that's a great comparison right there. The bluegill of the sea.
Bluegill of the sea. Now, moving on to the Jigs and Bigs tournament for this month. Again, congratulations. I'm sorry, man. I'm in vacation mode. I don't know what the hell's going on.
I hear you.
Prizes are being mailed out. We got all the addresses yesterday. So if you won something for Chronic Trips, expect it soon. Seth's handling all that with me being on the road. So great job. Congrats to all the winners. Great job, Jesse. Great job, Nate. Great job, Jerry. And congrats to everyone who set a record. Now, on to the Jigs and Bigs tourney. Number 2, our second Jigs and Bigs tourney. So just going off points, again, we're not even through the first week. We have a tie in first with myself and, surprise, surprise, Jerry House with 18 points each. We have Mike Trzynski is sitting in second place with 4. So there's a little bit of a jump there, but that's cool, by himself. And then he's basically sandwiched in with another tie. Sticky Fred and Eric Graves, Gravy Fishing, 3 points each, sitting in third place. Again, we're only a week in. These numbers are going to be all over the place. Jump in, folks. The water's fine.
It's true. This is your opportunity. I mean, while it might look, and let's take a look at that largemouth category for a second, okay? The largemouth category for this month right now, our first place. Let me scroll down to it.
While you're scrolling, I should make note, this has not been updated with all the stuff I did this morning. So, my scorecard does not have the 18.5 in that's now in second place. I caught a good largemouth today.
Yep.
It doesn't have I have first place in pike and I have first place in 95, so it doesn't have those in there. It's just not my scores that I just gave were not updated as of this morning because I came home and cooked pizzas.
I'm just going to throw in there that we have 5 largemouth entered right now. The smallest is 11 inches on the nose, and the largest is 19.5. 19.5 is a great fish, but that can be outdone, and let's be honest here. I mean, I know that, Eric's going to keep fishing and he's going to bump out that 11. So who knows? He could put the 22 that takes first place. Like, there's so much what if that's right here. I don't think we have any smallmouth entered yet. No, we do. Eric.
Eric got one?
Eric's got one,
he's out there fishing today then because I haven't updated.
Yeah.
I want to make a note on that largemouth category.
Yep.
Take a look at what the length on the tail is on that largemouth if you got it up to 19.5.
The 19.5. Let me go ahead and take a look.
We might as well start hammering this nail in.
Take a look.
You're smiling.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, what, Bobby Roast Beef, would you please describe in color what is happening in that picture and why it's 19.5?
It is 19.5 because even though on the board it measures 20 and a half, it's got an open mouth.
Yep. So if the mouth is open more than a quarter inch, that fish loses an inch. So guys and gals, close the mouths on the fish unless there is a danger. I am not going to say anything about open mouths on pike, pickerel, gar, bowfin. I'm not going to say a word about that. But bass, crappie. Oh, you know what else I'm not going to say a word about? We discovered last time, carp. Carp, even though they're not dangerous, you can open a carp's mouth and it doesn't matter.
yeah, because of where it's placed on their body. That makes sense. It
absolutely does not matter. So I will be making an adjustment on that. I said I was going to do it last month and I didn't because I'm a piece of shit. So get those mouths closed. I don't like deducting. I don't want. I just have to be fair. So, and there are other competitive anglers in these tournaments. If they see a mouth open and there's no deduction, I'm going to hear about it.
Yep.
So they keep me honest.
Yeah, exactly.
Get the mouths closed. Stay honest yourself. Nobody has to keep me honest, and we're all good.
Yeah.
And And if I do have to deduct, it's not personal. It's just this is the rule of the tournament.
Yeah,
So
that's exactly it. And wear your PFDs, damn it. Be safe.
Follow your local boating laws, federal, state, and local laws.
That I think is really the name of the game.
Don't die.
Yeah, essentially, we want you to here to compete more and more and more. I'm really excited to see what happens, and there's still so much more of this month to go. I know that number of anglers is going to probably double, maybe even triple by the time we get to the last week of the month, and anything can happen. So if you're planning on doing any fishing for this tournament, go ahead and sign in and get ready, because we're going to be hooking you guys up again. The prizes for last month's winners, or for the May winners, were awesome. And I think we're going to do even better this time around. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun. Go ahead, guys, sign up and get to it. It's going to be fan-freaking-tastic.
Excellent.
You know what time it is?
What time is it?
We have no shortage of stories this week. We have a couple in-house, and we have one that came to us via Facebook Messenger that I'll be reading.
That one's the main event. Let me go first.
Yeah, you should go first.
You know how the big drinking days of the year are what now? Like Cinco de Mayo, New Year's Eve, the night before Thanksgiving, St. Patrick's Day. Those are pretty much the big four, right? And you shouldn't go out and drink on those nights because the people that are out drinking, it's amateur hour. 4th of July, if you're out fishing on a big rec lake, that is the same thing. It is amateur hour. I have two stories from this week that I'm you know what? I love the people of Minnesota so much that I'm going to assume that these people were out of towners. They don't know what they're doing. Clearly. This is the most fishingest state in the union. These people were not they must have been from Wisconsin. That's it. Minnesota's got a big Wisconsin rivalry. I only have to imagine. Listen to this. Side note: there was a 5K walk and run that we all got involved in yesterday in town, and the winner was from Wisconsin, and people booed.
I'm sure that they did.
They booed. It was a 5K, and they booed him. That was wrong
for charity.
But they booed him.
Oh man,
it was just bad. So it was funny, but it was wrong. So we're going to assume that these two stories I have to tell are out of towners, possibly from Wisconsin. I have no verification on that, other than them wearing white and red Badger clothing and yellow and green cheese heads. But that could have been anybody.
Could have been. It could have been.
Could have been. Well, story number one is there is a lodge at the end of the lake, and it's at a wider part of the lake.
Yep.
And I was fishing a drop up. I wasn't even fishing a shoreline, but I was, 50 yards away from the shore, fishing in that direction. And that left, 300 yards behind me, also of which behind me was the dock with the rental boats at this lodge.
Yep.
A gentleman got into his boat with two of his buddies and three kids. Actually came out of the dock, took a hard left and then a hard right just to go in between me and the shoreline. At that point, I was going to say something, and I just put my head down and poured another coffee because there were kids in that boat.
Yep.
I gave this guy
more than enough room.
7/8 of the lake behind me, and he still took the 1/8 that I was fishing and cut in front of me. And he was like happy about it, like getting ready to wave. And I'm like, I can't. I'm going to swear at you. I can't do this.
You know who that guy is?
Who's that guy?
That guy is like, when you go in like an airport bathroom or something like that, and you have just like 1,000 urinals all lined up, and nobody's at any one of them, and you're over there standing there taking a leak, and that one guy comes and stands next to the one that's right next to you. That's that guy.
Yeah. Fuck that guy and fuck that guy.
Fuck both those guys. The
next one. My love of jet skiers that want to get up close and personal, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was fishing I had actually pulled myself up on a point with all these rice stalks, which for me is a pain in the ass with the pedal kayak because it gets all crapped up with the weeds.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And I was describing to you the place I was fishing is kind of, there's like 3 points that meet up plus a channel where boats are coming out of another lake from, and it's really, really high traffic. There was a kid on a jet ski. Now, if you're on a jet ski, you don't need a license. You don't need shit.
Nothing.
You don't need common sense. You don't need there's no age restriction. I saw kids as young as like 10 ripping around on jet skis. Well, this one kid that looked to be about in high school went by me once real close. Like, I don't mind somebody going by now at this point with the Slayer. It's so solid on the water.
Yeah.
I don't mind people going by full throttle 50 yards away. I don't care.
No kidding.
It's fine. I'm fine with that because there's some waves and I'm going to ride them and it's not no skin off my teeth. It's when they go by close that's a problem because now we're talking danger where collision is on my mind.
Yeah.
So this kid ripped by me about 15 to 20 feet away and I gave him a dirty look when he went by and then he did it again.
Oh.
That's when I almost stood up, but he wouldn't have heard me. He was gone and me standing up in the kayak would have been a problem with the knees anyways, but I was livid. So I didn't have a chance to tell him to fuck off then. So right now, fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy.
On to you, sir. You got a good one.
I do. I have a real good one. So I'm going to read this verbatim. This one comes to us from good friend of the show, good friend of Chronic Trips, Brock Jenkins. Let's go ahead and get to this. He gives a little bit of a precursor here, and I'm just going to take it away. This comes from his local lakes page, and this was apparently posted yesterday. It says, "Please be careful of wildlife, especially on a busy holiday weekend. Someone with a faded white boat with a red stripe towing 3 kids on a tube intentionally and maliciously hit a Canadian goose, and the prop completely maimed one of its legs. A kind fisherman was floating towards the middle of the lake, so we stopped to make sure that he was okay, and he told us how he saw the whole thing and that he was trying to protect it while figuring out what to do. My family and I were able to safely get the goose out of the water and then home. Unfortunately, after several calls to the emergency vet hospitals and wildlife rescues, we had to humanely put the animal down. This is an absolutely tragic loss of life. Fuck that guy." Yeah, fuck that guy. That is not cool. That's actually, I'll tell you what, that I think is even a step under the goose wings on the sign guy. I think that's actually a step below because, like, just what a douche.
I don't know. I think they're both equally heinous. Like, did this guy have kids in the boat? Was this, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. He had kids on the tube.
Dude, that's just pieces of shit.
Yeah, absolute assholes.
Yep.
So, and I don't know if anybody's noticed, but we've officially changed the name of this segment to "Fuck That Guy."
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, and that's based on Paul. We didn't realize how well it worked. So, and then I had to throw a little Billy the Doctor in there just for that little story. Fuck.
I don't know. I almost feel you don't make some decisions with soundtracks very often, but I don't know. Did that fit? That was sinister.
That was, I tried to lighten it up because it was pretty freaking,
okay.
Yeah, I was trying to lighten it up a little bit.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. And also, I think that's the perfect soundtrack for the mentality of somebody who might think it's awesome to play, whack-a-goose with their boat.
Definitely a soundtrack to anyone who has derp running through their mind constantly. You're right.
Well, first time I looked at that, I was just like, "Oh, hold on! This is a faded white boat." And was the captain of this vessel drinking a red stripe? And they were like, "Hooray, beer!" That's what I thought initially. That's where my head was. But no, with a red stripe on the boat.
Yeah, you know what? I drank Red Stripe once way back in the day, and I thought that was the most heinous, vile beer I've ever had in my life.
It's not bad. I feel like Red Stripe. I feel like there's a time and a place. And maybe that time and place is 30 beers in already.
Yes.
I'm not going to judge.
Or whatever number of beers it takes for you to actually deaden your taste buds.
Well, and keep in mind that this statement comes from a man who willingly puts clam juice in his beer. So, there's that. There's that. Yep. Oh, man, what a freaking like amazing week. This week has been killer. Guys, we have an amazing interview coming up just next. You're going to want to check this out. I have Brandon Heimericks with us, and he is an amazing angler from Missouri. He fishes a lot on Table Rock. He fishes the Ozarks. He's got some good stuff, and you know, we get into it. We go, this interview actually goes off the rails, but in the best kind of way. I think you guys are really going to enjoy that. We will be back after this quick word from our good friends over at Three Bells Outfitters. Remember, check them out because life is better on the water. Jigs and Bigs is proud to announce that we're being supported by Three Bells Outfitters. Located in Smith Cove on the Niantic River, TBO is Connecticut's premier paddle sports retailer. They're a full-service shop specializing in kayaks and paddleboards for everything from recreation to tournament fishing. Three Bells is an authorized dealer of Hobie, Jackson, Feel Free, Native, and Bonafide kayaks, as well as many paddleboard brands. Not sure of what kind of SUP or kayak you want? TBO offers free demos of all brands. Want to go for an extended test drive? They have a full-service rental facility on site. Three Bells also offers a complete rigging service for your kayak with such brands as Yak Attack, Yak Gear, Burley Pro, Yak Power, Torpedo, and more. The sky is the limit. You can visit Three Bells Outfitters in person or online at threebellsoutfitters.com. They ship anywhere in the lower 48 states or order online and pick up at the store. Can't make it to the store to pick up your kayak or worried the freight company might damage your purchase? Three Bells Outfitters offers a white glove delivery of kayaks within a 225-mile radius of their store at a rate less than typical freight carriers. They will deliver your kayak, set it up, and answer any questions you may have. Be sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget to tell them Jigs and Bigs sent you. Three Bells Outfitters, because life is better on the water. Hey, what's up, guys? Bobby Roast Beef here for Jigs and Bigs, and it's our interview segment right here. And in the beef seat this week, we've got Brandon Heimericks with us. Brandon, how you doing, buddy? How's everything going?
Going great, man. Thanks for having me.
That's awesome, man. You guys might know Brandon from Instagram. Dustoff_fishing is his handle over there. He reps a lot of the killer companies that I love. Hookset Hoodlums, what is this? Old Glory Outdoors. We got X Zone. You're an X Zone guy, huh?
Yeah.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. So you know the deal. We're going to talk fishing, obviously. We're going to get to know some of like the preferences, things that you like, the way you like things when you're out on the water. We're going to hear some funny stories and just kind of have a good old time with this. That sound good?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right. So to get things started, tell us, like, I'm a sucker for an origin story. So go ahead and tell me, Brandon, how it was that you came to discover fishing. Like, who was it that introduced it to you? And then what was it that kind of got it to the point now where you're creating content and you're going at the level you're at now?
Yeah, man. First, again, thanks for having me. I learned, I would feel like maybe, and I could be debatable about this, but I feel like I'm kind of in the mecca for some fishing here in the Midwest, especially in Missouri. Mm-hmm. I live in, I'm originally from a town called Jefferson City, but I live about 45 minutes from a place called Lake of the Ozarks, which is a big fishery here in Missouri. And so my family, ever since I was, actually, they've had this place since the 70s. I'm sitting in it right now. Mm-hmm. We're going to do some fishing after we get off the phone here. But nice. My dad and grandpa would bring me down here, and we'd stop at this little like Bass Pro gas station and pick up some crawdads or some minnows on the way down. We'd throw out some rigs. We'd set them out overnight. I kind of felt like that was Christmas for me because you never know what you're going to catch on a crawdad that you leave overnight, you know?
True.
And that started it for me, mostly just dock fishing and bank fishing. I had some family members that had some boats. They would take me out. I'll be honest, dude. Like, I hate mornings, which is kind of crazy because I'm in the Army and I like to fish. which is, it's kind of counterintuitive to that stuff. But anyway, so I did that all kind of growing up in the 80s and 90s. And then I was a wrestler in high school, and my wrestling coach takes a group of people to Canada every year to this place called the Quetico Provincial Park, which is just north of Ely, Minnesota. And it's kind of like a manly man's type of trip. You show up there, they give you a couple backpacks and a canoe, and they drop you off someplace. Then they say, we'll see you in 7 days. And wherever you decide you want to go and fish, that's where you go. You kind of cook what you catch, and then you kind of come out like bigger, better, and stronger for it at the end of it. So that kind of started me on it. And like most people, I've heard 1,000 interviews on this, but like a lot of people kind of in their high school and college timelines find other interests.
Yep.
And anyway, I went to Afghanistan with the Army, and then I went to Iraq with the Army, and I'd kind of gotten to a point where I was like, I'm just going to live my life. And I'd always remembered that Canada trip.
Yeah.
And I hooked up with an Army buddy who goes every year. And so 2 years ago, this year will be my third year, I started going on that trip. And then like everybody else who probably starts an Instagram page, my friends are like, cool, that's a fish, man. Like, is that good? Is that bad?
Yeah, they don't have anything for scale. They don't get it.
No, so I started an Instagram page just because I wanted to talk to people who knew, like, hey, that's a good looking bass or nice spot or, good pike or whatever. And so I kind of just did this on a whim in November, and we're up to about 6,000 followers now. So
shut up, 6K in that short amount of time. You're killing it. I mean, your account is like your page is pretty badass. Like there's a lot of really, really good stuff on your profile. But I mean, like that's since November.
Yep, November 6th was the day
man.
I started.
That's crazy, man. Holy shit, that's bananas. Well, hey, good for you. You're absolutely killing it. And like I totally get what you're saying. Like that Canada trip is like it's like me with Champlain. It's the same kind of deal. Like that's just a trip, and I never even went, to Champlain. This is something my father had done with his buddies. It's one of those things. And this fall, I'm taking my dad to Champlain. It's just like it's one of those things you kind of reconnect with it, and it is a very common story where you find somebody who falls into fishing and it's everything that they want to do, and then you're right, like you get to your mid to late teenage years and you get busy. You have other stuff you're trying to do, trying to kind of like create a life and stuff, and you don't really realize the importance that getting outdoors and spending quality time and having that the benefit fishing gives people for their own mental health, whether they acknowledge that or not, is immense,
Yeah, man. So like, there's a quote, and I'm going to butcher this, but the fisherman spends his whole life not realizing that it's not the fish that he's trying to catch.
Yep.
And, and I don't want to get too deep into my own personal story, but, as a two-time combat veteran and a guy who's kind of been through a lot of, difficult situations and rough scenarios, when you come back from stuff like that, you're not the same guy. And so you find different outlets. And for me, like fishing is a healthy outlet that isn't something that is going to, damage my life or my job or have a negative impact on the people around me. It's like one of those things that you can just kind of go out and kind of bury yourself in for a while. Oh yeah. And I've heard that actually, like just sometimes it's the familiarity, of like, this is what I used to love doing. I'm going to reconnect with it. And, the benefits that can give you. I mean, Sean, the fisherman, has shared before that like his connection with fishing is all about replacing one habit with another, which was alcohol. So for him, he was like, yeah, I'm going to quit drinking and I'm going to go 110% into, casting some artificial baits and see what kind of a mess we can make. And it's awesome, dude. Let's talk about like your favorite season. Like what's your favorite season to be out there fishing? Yeah, man. So I think I think I probably echo most people's sentiments when you say the springtime is the best time to fish. I mean, you saw, Swamp Rat Alex, our buddy, pulled his PB out in April. I pulled 2 PBs out this spring in April. And that's pre-spawn and spawn, because you get those fish that are just,
they're ready to pop. Yeah.
Twice as fat as they are long. And what's funny is I caught a bluegill that had a belly that was 3 inches wide this year, which I thought was kind of cool. But anyway, yeah, spring is definitely the best time of year to catch fish. I think honestly though, I'm most familiar with this time of year with fishing, because you spend a lot. I think you spend a lot more time in the summer. I think everybody's jobs are kind of more laid back, and you spend more time. Your family wants to go to the lake in the summer. They don't want to drag, you and the dogs and the truck and all that other stuff down to the lake house in the winter to watch you put on 15 pairs of clothes and go out in the boat and fish. Yep. So yeah, I think spring's my favorite, but summer is definitely one of those times where I get a lot more fishing in.
Oh yeah. I mean, summer is definitely, you have the accessibility. But I mean, with that, there's challenges too. You get a lot of wreck boaters that are out there, a lot of people vacationing on the lakes, and just novice anglers that are taking up space in some situations, especially if you're on the bank. That's bane of my existence, man. It's tough. But, at the same time, you're absolutely right. It's the fishing is the best in the spring. But, summertime, I feel that's where a lot of us kind of cut our teeth. And it's funny, too. A lot of people struggle, myself included, in that summer heat, they struggle to find bass. You would think with everybody being out there so often and being so easy to get out there and catch fish, or so easy to get out there to fish, I should say. I hear a lot of people that are just I struggle after that post spawn comes and we start getting into the real heat of summer. It gets tough.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of winter fishing. Yep. So winter fishing is deep fishing. Yeah. And so is summer fishing, for lack of a better term. People get used to beating banks a lot of time, and a lot of time you have people that are bank fishermen. So where I like to kind of find my refuge in the summertime, which kind of to your point, the Lake of the Ozarks is one of the biggest man-made lakes in the country.
It's huge.
I don't know how many million square miles of shoreline it has or whatever, but I kind of fall back on, I know this cove, I know the points, I know the structure and the cover. It's not like Blackwood and Swamp Rat say, tidal rivers change every year. Yep. This river or this lake is the same lake that I fished when I was 5. Yeah. The same places still work. So I either do that or I'll go fish these cold water lakes, or I'm sorry, cold water rivers or creeks in Missouri, like the James River, the Gasconade River, the Finley River. A good friend of mine, a guy named Ryan Reed, has a private put in on this river because it's blocked off by a water treatment plant that's owned by the city, and he works for the city. So he has this key to this gate where we just get private access to this river, and then we have all this fish and fishing that's hardly ever touched. And we get to fish that all the time. And that river is, cold water river in the summer. So you have, you don't have any pressure. You have kind of you don't have real deep places. Fish can't hide very many spots. Oh yeah. And you just kill it there, man. It's great.
That's freaking bananas. That is awesome. What is your favorite type of body of water? Do you lean more toward these large bodies of water like Lake of the Ozarks, or do you to break down smaller ponds, or is current your thing?
Yeah, man. So that's a tough question, dude. So I live real close to Table Rock Lake too, and some spots in Table Rock are 130 feet deep. Jesus. It's classified as a highland reservoir, and I'm not in literally whole trees are at the bottom of this lake, standing 30 foot tall. Really? And they're 60 feet down. So I don't know how to fish water like that. I didn't grow up fishing water that deep. I don't know how to fish that stuff. A guy named Fish the Moment and Randy Blockett fish that lake a lot. So if you ever watch their show, they'll teach you how to fish offshore at Table Rock with spoons and all this other stuff, but I'm not very good at that. I think my bread and butter is anywhere between 20 and 0 feet. I'm getting used to current. I fish this river called, or it's a lake, but it's off the James River called Taneycomo, which is a cold water river that's famous for actually the state record, maybe even the national record brown trout, I think was 38 inches. Maybe it was 38 pounds. 38 pounds taken out of there.
It's huge.
Yeah, dude. So, yeah. Oh, shit. Sorry. So, my point is I think my favorite is probably Lake of the Ozarks because of comfortability, but I'm getting really used to fishing the skinny water and current. So Old 18 is one of our, my rod companies or they are my rod company. And when we were talking, they were like, what kind of rod do you want? I said, well, I have a G Loomis IMX that I like to fish spinning tackle for trout with. And I like to fish these jigs. They're marabou jigs made by this place called Lily's Landing.
Yep.
And you can buy them online. And they're kind of made they're kind of like hair jigs, but I think they're made with I don't know, some sort of fancy feather, chicken feathers or something. But anyway, I like to fish 4-pound Invisics Seagar fluorocarbon on this G Loomis IMX and I have an Abu Garcia Zata, and I just like to jig that in that current, and that jig just kind of floats.
Those feathers have to be so delicate with the action.
Yeah. And the trout just murder those jigs. We'll see people, they're fishing cheese bait, they're fishing worms, they're fishing rooster tails and panther martins, all of the stuff that people fish for trout with. But those jigs have gotten me 16 fish in a day where I'll talk to people and they're like, yeah, we got 1, 2. We got people that are at the put out going, hey, can we have a couple of those fish to take home?
No kidding.
So yeah, dude. And Taneycomo is great because it's also a great bass fishery because nobody fishes for them. And they have huge fish that people go out there with trout glide baits, some of these river to sea glide baits or whatever, and catch 6-7 pounders.
That's freaking badass. There's so many amazing bodies of water in this country that I have, that my little brain can barely even comprehend. Some of these spots that people talk to me about, I'm just absolutely floored with them. As far as confidence baits for you, what's your top 3 look like? What are the 3 things that you can count on to catch them?
Yep. So pretty simple for me. Jig and not a swim jig.
Okay.
I'm not like a swim jig guy. I'm more like a flipping jig, football jig, structure cover kind of guy. I'm also a big fan of an underspin on a spin bait. I like the X-Zone Swammer. And what's really been killing it and what's really been killing it for me right now is the Electric Shad and the Chartreuse and White Swammer. That's been murdering it. In fact, when I take my family out, I give them all Swammers, and we just they just destroy fish. I don't fish with my family because you know the deal, dude. You go out on a boat and you have a bunch of non-fishermen.
Yep.
All you do the whole time
is fix their stuff.
Yeah, fix their stuff. In fact, my dad went out, and of course I don't have any crappy rods, right?
Yeah.
At all.
Giving them great shit.
So yeah, I'm giving him a nice rod. Well, what's he do? He takes the rod and he goes to cast it, and the lure catches my other rod and breaks it. And it was a Shimano Zodius that I had not fished with yet. And he broke it in half.
For real?
So I had this $220 rod that it comes with a rod sleeve. That's how nice it is.
Yeah.
And he breaks it in half. Of course I can't be you
just got to take it all in stride. Yeah, exactly. You got to be hey, let's fishing,
Yeah. So that was an interesting night. But anyway, long story short is swim baits are one, especially the paddle tail, 4-inch swammers. The flipping or pitching jigs is another one. And then lately, and I hate to say it, man, because people talk smack on Ned rigs, but my buddy Jeremy Mitchell says, I put all the Ned rigs in a box and I put on it brake in case of emergency, because that's all the pros use. If they're trying to fill a limit at the end of a tournament and they can't catch 5 fish, they throw a Ned rig on and they fish with it. But some of my best fish, especially in Canada, walleye, which is crazy because don't want to get on a tangent here, but
go for it.
Walleye fishing. So we go to Canada every year, and I fish for walleye and trout like I fish for bass. So a lot of people don't do that. Like people go out and they troll for walleye, or they fish with these like leeches, or they do some sort of weird crap with spoons and minnows. I don't do that stuff. I don't know how to do that stuff. So I fish for walleye like I fish for bass. And what's crazy is we'll come in and we'll catch 18, 20, 25 walleye in a day, 18 to 23 inches, perfect eater size.
Yep.
But we'll come in from like the week-long trip and we'll be like, yeah, we caught, 20 fish every day. And we had great days. We never were hungry or anything else. And these people are like, really? Like people are coming in saying they can't catch anything on like the normal stuff. Mm-hmm. And so apparently if you just throw fish stuff they don't see usually, like as an example, I took these Elastec 3-inch pink Neds up to Canada and fished for walleye with those and just murdered them. Like every cast pink.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short is I think it's probably Ned swim baits and flipping and pitching jigs, but I do love a jig. I'm a jig disciple. I didn't used to be, but I've had so many people like teach me that if you can get good at it, you can get big fish, because the biggest fish you're ever going to catch are going to be on jigs or topwater.
Yep.
I believe that wholeheartedly.
Huh. Yeah, I'm a big believer in a jig. I always lean toward a jig when I've found fish and I'm looking for size, in that group of fish. That's exactly what I'm going to throw as a jig. And like I'll use my goal this year was finding fish, getting better at finding fish, especially at new bodies of water. So reading contour maps is huge, paying attention to the weather, all of these other variables that go together. But then also like I've always considered myself much more of a finesse angler. Ned rigs, drop shot, weightless plastics, that was my bread and butter. That's what I did well. And then I started to kind of get into jigs and started to have some basically after researching them and figuring out how am I supposed to use this. And I've recently just kind of fallen into really like add swim jigs as part of that, where honestly, if I can't throw a rattle trap, because of like insane grass or whatever, I'm going to throw a swim jig and use that to try to find fish. Unless, like an underspin. I that used to be the only search bait I would throw was an underspin. But like there's just a time and a place. And it's funny because our jigs, the ones that we put out in our jig kits, they play this funky little, they kind of walk the line between not a flipping jig, but like an Arky style head, because they do have that Arky style head. If you take a look at that, it does look like an Arky
that'll
style
go
head.
Through some brush pretty good.
Oh, easily. And then you look at like that hook, like it's almost ideal to play double, to play both roles.
I agree.
It's dynamite. And
those are nice, man. It's first time seeing them.
Good. Yeah, they came out really good. They're eventually going to be available. Like we have a handful that we're using for like prizes for the tournaments and stuff like that. They're very, very solid. Sean and I put a lot of work into these, and I mean, I think they're eventually going to be available, to just buy them individually and then in kits and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I'm a huge, like if I'm looking for size, I'm going to throw a jig, once I can get on them. I'm like, I was fishing with Todd Grubb and it was the first time out with my first kayak, and I just needed a bite. So I'm like, this is ridiculous. I've been fishing all this submerged timber, throwing a PB&J jig. Like everything about this says this is what they're going to bite. And I'm like, I just got to get bit. That's what I need. So I grabbed my spinning combo, weightless black and blue Senko, few casts in, bam, got a little dink. And I was like, all right, cool. Now I know there's fish here. Let's go get the big ones. And then I was able to just throw a jig after that, knowing that I found them. So it's just crazy, man.
So I got an interesting story about that. So I went fishing with this guy named Chad Hoover. Have you ever heard of Chad Hoover?
Yep.
Okay.
Head of KBF.
So Chad and I and a guy named Jeremy Mitchell and Mike Unruh and a couple other dudes went out on the Gasconade yesterday. And first time meeting Chad, awesome dude. If you don't know him, check him out. He's a great guy. And man, that guy is a mover and a shaker. And he's a great fisherman.
Yep. Sean got to meet him at a KBF event at Candlewood in Connecticut. And he's like, he is a personality. Holy cow. You know?
Yeah. Well, he and I hit it off because we're both helicopter pilots.
Oh, no kidding. Nice.
Yeah. So we had plenty of, shit to shoot, but, anyway, long story short is we were getting skunked. Everybody was getting skunked. And I'm fishing with Chad's a pro and Jeremy cashes checks all the time on our Moyak kayak fishing tournaments. And these guys are getting skunked. We're throwing top waters. We're throwing jigs. We're throwing, and I you go in the night before with a plan, right? I'm going to put jigs. I actually put a Pompadour Junior on, which is a jackal bait, which is like a walking bait. It's kind of cool. And anyway, long story short, Senko, all that stuff, none of that was working. And Chad I actually threw on an Aaron's PB&J 3-inch Ned rig and caught a fish. I caught a drum actually with it, which is crazy. And so Chad was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to throw on a Ned. And he threw on a Ned, but he threw on a different color and he started catching. He caught an 18-inch smallie. But he threw it was like green and chartreuse or something. Yep. So chartreuse was kind of the thing that kind of keyed me in. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go all in. So I threw Jade's Jigs is this place in Springfield local that has like these awesome EWG Ned heads. Yep. So I threw that Jade's Jig Ned head on a chartreuse grub. And don't sleep on grubs, man, because grubs work as great for two things. One, they work great for smallies. And the second thing they work great for are in current. Okay, I'm going to go say three things. And the third thing they work great for is they work great as trailers on finesse jigs. Yep. In current. So anyway, long story short, I threw that grub on. I caught like 8 fish on that thing the rest of the day.
That's awesome.
It killed for me. And I was like top catcher of the day just with that grub, And I just kept telling people it's stupid because I have like $1,000 worth of tackle and another $1,000 worth of rods, and I'm throwing a $1.50 Express Bass Pro chartreuse grub on this Ned head and catching fish. So
it's crazy. There's a saying that Sean likes to use is he says, I go to a body of water and I show them my particular brand of bullshit. And it's true. Like you show those fish something that they're not used to seeing all the time. Like we joke about it. The freaking state fish of Massachusetts shouldn't be the cod. It should be the bloated white Senko at the bottom of the pond because they're everywhere.
Yeah.
But do they get bit? Sure. But if you can throw something that's going to get their attention, that's like recently I just started getting into scents. Like I love JJ's Magic chartreuse. Like I just use it just in the right kind of give a little bit of highlight here and there, something to mix it up. And if you can show them something that they haven't seen a million times, that's awesome. Or even like another thing that I'm finally starting to understand is the difference in vibrating baits. Like you take lipless cranks, a standard lipless crank, and then a one knocker. Totally different kinds of sounds underwater, and that could be the difference if everybody's been throwing one or the other. And you can put something in front of them that's a little bit different that they can key in on. I'm also a believer in like the red hooks. Some bodies of water, it can come into play, I know a lot of people who think that's all baloney, but
no, it's not. So a good friend of mine taught me that if you fish really pressured waters and you fish lipless, like especially lipless are big and popular early spring.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, in pressure waters, you fish the liplesses that don't have the rattles in them. Like they're just
the silent
they're
ones.
just kind of silent.
Yep.
And those will kill fish big time early spring.
I've heard more and more of that too. Yeah. Silent, silent vibrating baits, like no rattles.
Yeah.
They're interesting.
They're like blade baits, dude.
Yep.
Like blade baits were the only thing I could catch fish on for like a while in the winter. And it's the same. It's kind of the same thing. It's the erratic action, but it's silent.
Yep.
And so it's more of a instinctual thing than it is like a reaction thing. I think fish like get angry at things that sound kind of loud in the water, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. Like and it also just gets their attention too. One of my favorite baits that's really noisy is from Spro. It's the BBZ Rat. And I've got the 40 or the 50. It's like the biggest one that they make, and it sounds like the knocker on a door. It's just like click, 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 click on the surface of the water. And I'm convinced it's just like, hey, I'm here. There's the dinner bell. It's crazy.
I love Spro, dude.
Yeah.
I throw rock crawlers down here all the time. Just kill fish. RK50s are is my favorite crankbait of all time.
I gotta experiment more with cranks. I've been playing around a lot with lipless because of the versatility. You know, I can fish them as deep or as shallow as I want. You know, I like that. And everything else that I've experienced, it's all square bills. But that comes from a lot of bank fishing. You know, so it kind of makes sense. The deep diving stuff, like, shit, I think the deepest water I have fished is like about 45 feet maximum. And it's so completely brand new to me. So that's one of the things I'm really excited about getting into this new kayak with 3 bells is that, you know, getting in there, they're rigging me up with like this insane Lowrance rig, like stuff that's actually tools that I'm going to be able to sink my teeth into and really like start to understand more of the planning that goes into this and just research. Like it's crazy. But let's get back into this here. What are 3 people that you would love to fish with, and they can be living or dead?
Okay, so the first one's going to be kind of a obscure one, maybe to people that are probably under 50. But there's a guy named Virgil Ward. Have you ever heard of Virgil Ward?
Virgil Ward. I don't think so.
So Google him, but I think he actually won a Bassmaster Classic, but he's actually the grandfather of a really good friend of mine named Eric Kernut, and he's local to Missouri. I think he lived in a town called Lamar, but he, by all accounts, was in fact, my wife fished with him when she was a kid before he died, but he's got a like a wall of fame up at the Bass Pro in Independence, Missouri. He had a TV show for a bunch of years. But that is probably the first guy I'd like to fish with, just because I have a local connection, and like actually the guy who told me to buy that Loomis IMX for that trout lake was Eric, and that's his grandpa. So I think that's probably the first person.
That's crazy.
The second person I would like to fish with would probably be, I think I would probably say Scott Martin, just because that guy is like a live scope Garmin bass ninja. I think I could learn like a ton of stuff from him. And I think if I had to say like I had a weakness, it would probably be like reading and understanding electronics as it relates to where fish are, how they're behaving, how they're holding, where they're holding, when they're holding there. And I just really love that he can kind of break down, and he seems like a personality, you know, like he seems like a guy that I'd like to like have a beer with or whatever, which is kind of cool. I like that about him. And then I think probably the last person that I'd like to fish with is, which is kind of going to be weird, but there's this guy named Kyler Beckman who is a crappie fisherman, and he is at Truman, and he's actually a good friend of mine. And I think I actually might get to fish with him. But Lake Fork guy went up and did a video with him and fished with him, and he's actually first in the points in like the crappie professional standards. But he runs a guide service up at Truman Lake, which is, like I said, Missouri is the best place, in my opinion, to fish for anything that you could want ever. Like Truman Lake is a world-class crappie lake. Lake of the Ozarks is it's not a world-class big bass lake, meaning like it's not like Lake Fork that's going to have like a 20 in it. Yeah. But as far as like the diversity of species, and the amount of fish, and it's crazy. Table Rock obviously is kind of stands up on its own, and but those are the 3 guys I think and I know they're not like famous or normal or common. It's not like Bill Dance or Jimmy Houston or maybe Richard Gene the Fishing Machine might be somebody fun to fish with, because I'd love
Richard
to
Gene's the man. He's great.
I love his show, man.
I want to have him on,
but I think
so bad.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the thing. Is like those guys that I would fish with are kind of local to me, for the most part.
Yeah.
So I could learn things from them that I could translate into everyday life. Like if I learned how to fish crappie on Truman Lake, if I wanted to go to Truman Lake and fish crappie, I could do that.
Yeah. And then the connection, like you said, with Virgil being your buddy's grandfather and having like that. I mean, that's just crazy. I was while you were talking, I did Google him. He's in the Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame.
Yep.
I didn't even know that was a thing, Brandon. Mm-hmm. This is how much shit I have to learn. Jesus.
What's funny is there's a video of him, and it's like a highlight video. And like I said, it's back when fishing was a TV show and stuff. Yeah. And Eric is on that show, like holding this, like, I want to say it was like an 8-pound bass, and he's like 5, and you're like, what the fuck? Like,
it's insane, man.
My PB is weak sauce. Okay. It's like 5.92 or something. Like I need Cody Lackwood to get me like on a fucking 8 and, and shit, but we'll get there. But it's just insane.
That's freaking, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Go watch some of his videos, man. He's got a personality too. So
I have pretty good. I have been one of the channels on YouTube that I've been like fully addicted to is old school fishing videos. This is the name of the channel. Old school fishing videos, and it's all stuff from like the 80s and 90s for the most part, and I think it's a relatively new channel. There's probably maybe a dozen videos on there. Some of them are like 2 hours long, and they're specials, technique specials, and it's great stuff. So I'll like put that stuff on, and like my wife, we like to leave the TV on when we're sleeping, and she's like, why do you leave this like random shit on? She's like, it's like a time machine. I'm like, it's odd. I love it. It's great. I can't get enough. Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, what,
So Chad was cracking me up because I told Chad I was throwing that pompadour.
Yeah.
And Chad goes, you mean an Argonaut? And I'm like, no, it's called a pompadour. And he goes, no, dude, like this lure was invented in the 60s. And then they just recently just came out and changed it and gave it a new name. Like it's kind of like bell bottoms, right? Like bell bottoms were cool. And then like 10 years ago, we had these wide leg jeans that you might as well have called bell bottoms,
pretty much.
And so anyway, long story short is, he kind of enlightened me to the fact that actually was an old lure.
Everything that is new or everything old is new again. It seems like there's just all kinds of stuff. Jitterbugs have been kind of making a comeback. I remember, was it last year or the year before? You saw a lot of hula poppers showing up in like mystery tackle boxes and stuff. And you're like, holy crap, I can remember seeing that stuff. In fact, actually, is the pompadour like a walking style bait? Like it's got wings?
Yeah, man.
Okay. So my father, one of the coolest lures he ever had in his tackle box, and I remember this when I was a little kid, I wanted to fish with this so bad. It was a bat. It was a topwater bat. It had big metal wings that hinged outward like this. And I remember telling him, I'm like, well, let's tie this on. And he's like, that stuff doesn't catch fish. We'll just use some night crawlers or some mealworms. It'll be good. Trust me. This is what you want to have. And I'm like, why is there this tackle box full? And I mean, it was one of these like giant boxes with like the trays that came out and everything. And I'm like, but you're telling me none of this works? And I mean, like a 7-year-old kid. I'm like, are you freaking high? I'm like, what are you doing? And it's just crazy. So I actually, it's so funny because for Father's Day, I dropped a little bit of coin. He would never treat himself on a fishing rod like I got him. I didn't get him anything crazy. I got him a Cashion CRT, 7-foot medium, 7-foot medium, and a 13 fishing Creed reel. Nice rig. Got them all set up, and I also bought him some Z-Man TRDs, and I gave him some weedless Ned heads too. And I was like, this is the bait. It's like the multi-species everything bait. You can catch anything on this. You don't have to worry about keeping it alive. It's all good, So he's psyched.
Yeah, man. But I heard you talking about that with Sean, and that's a great gift, dude.
Oh, he was so excited.
Man, I bet he was just stoked about that.
Yeah, he was casting with it off the deck at my sister's house, and he's just like, I have never felt.
It's like the kid at Christmas that can't wait to play with his toy.
Oh, it was the best. I was like, oh, he's gonna love this. It's so good. My goal right now is to get him in a kayak ASAP, so that way, when we go to Champlain, he's kind of got it. It's all old hat. So that's the idea. Get
a wide one. Get him like a new canoe or something that's gonna never tip. You know what I mean?
Well, I think what's going to probably end up happening. So, Three Bells Outfitters is putting me into Native Titan 13.5, which is like 41 inches wide. It doesn't tip. It's so I have a feeling my backup plan is to just send him out in that one, and I'm going to get in the Ascend, and probably because it's pedal drive, I'm probably just going to tie off to the end of his kayak and let him haul me all over the place.
Yeah, tow you around.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm like, this is a bit much. I can't wait to get my hands on that boat, man.
Oh yeah, I had a Slayer Propel for about a year. Got rid of it. A little skinny for me, a little short. It was a 10. Oh, so I just recently upgraded to a Jackson Bite FD.
Nice. Jackson makes a really good boat.
Oh, dude, I was impressed as hell with it. I went out with a bunch of guys this weekend, and they had Old Towns, Predator PDLs, Hobie Pro Angler, Jackson Liska, and an Old Town Topwater PDL 120. And every time we went through skinny water, I never had to get out of the boat, and all those other guys had to get out of the boat. I don't know. I get it. I was probably a little smaller than some of those guys, but the way that thing handled on a river was very impressive to me.
That's awesome. Yeah, that says a lot. When you put yourself into moving water like that, that's when a lot of these factors with stability and how shallow are you able to go with it, and that's killer. Now,
well, the other part about it that's great is the drive there's a handle on it, and you don't even have to take the drive up out of the water. You just pull the handle up.
Oh yeah, that's right, and it lifts the prop right up, right?
Yeah. And so you don't have to you can be fishing and be like, oh shit, there's some rapids, pull the handle up, and still there's no pause. Oh crap, I got to take this. Like on the Native anyway, and I don't know if the Titan's like this, but it has these J hooks with these bungees that you kind of have to move a plate out of the way and bring the drive up. So that took time. And if you're trying to dock on the shore or something, that also you can kind of get cattywampus coming in a little bit. But that thing was great. You just push the handle down and the thing comes up, and then when you're ready to rock again, you can push it all the way down. What's even cooler is it has a halfway setting, so if you're in skinny enough water but not too skinny, you can bring it up, and then you can still use your pedal drive, which is kind of dope. So I like that a lot.
It was actually Jackson was a very close second. The Three Bells put me into a big rig, and I'm like, this thing is amazing. This could just about be the one. But it was just something about the way the way everything kind of sat with, I just for me, it was a better fit. And I'm like, I wanted to like the Jackson more so bad. I really did. I was like, I had to go.
I like the seat better in the Native. The seat in the Native is a lot better.
The seat is killer in the Native. The storage underneath. It's molded for tools and everything. It's unbelievable. And that extra bit of width from the Titan and the big rig on either side made a big difference for some of the things that I have planned. And there's one feature that the Native has that I am 100% going to take a leap into. They make where if you replace the pedal drive, if you replace the propel, take that out, there is a transom mount that fits in that spot. So you can take any trolling motor whatsoever, and you've got a powered kayak for infinitely less than something else. And this is not something that I want to utilize often, but there's larger bodies of water where I might want to travel from spot to spot and go a large distance in between them. And it would be one of these deals where I would change out that mount, and when I get where I'm going to fish, put the pedal drive back in, and then switch it back and forth. Because it can hold it.
Yeah, no. I looked at that, and especially if you're fishing tournaments, the one and only kayak tournament I've ever fished, I pedaled 5 miles. and I was exhausted and sunburnt and dehydrated, and that was like, if there's any lesson I could give anybody out there who's listening to this, who's never fished a kayak tournament and wants to, you need to pack a bunch of stuff. And one of the things you need to pack, and it's not lures, it's sunblock
and
water and food.
Yeah.
Because if you're really gonna get to spots other people aren't at, you're gonna have to pedal, or like you said, which is perfectly like normal, is put that trolling motor in there, get yourself where you need to get to, and then you can use that pedal drive to just kind of do your thing and then go back to wherever you're going to go.
Yeah, that was the big kicker for me. I'm just like, this is crazy. We just recorded, it's actually going to run probably right before this episode. We recorded a conversation, a roundtable about advantages in kayak fishing, pedal versus paddle versus power type thing. And I mean, we all kind of, at the end of it, we basically all came to the conclusion that really there's a string of variables that all kind of come together to create tournament success. Advantages and disadvantages for each variable, depending on, the individual, the tools, the know-how, all this. But at the end of the day, everybody agreed, like, there's no substitute for experience. If you have experience and you can apply that experience, you can do so much more with it. And ultimately, like, that's the defining factor. But it was an unbelievable conversation. It was really good. And something I think we were, like, way overdue to talk about.
Yeah, I tell this. So I get a lot of, I am by no means a professional fisherman, and I have weaknesses just like everybody else does. But I get a lot of people that reach out to me on social media, and they ask me questions of my opinions on rods, or what they should buy, or whatever their tackle choices are, or whatever. And I have kids that reach out to me, like, kids that are like, I've saved my money from Christmas and I want to buy a fish finder. What do you think? And I just tell them, like, okay, dude, do you have a good life jacket? Do you have a decent paddle? Do you have a rod holder? Do you have a black pack? Like, if I'm being honest with you, I have probably used my experience of locating and finding fish based off of, like you said, depth of water, wind, lunar conditions, temperature, points, structure, cover, more than I've ever used the fish. You know what the fish finder usually helps me with? How deep the water is. Yeah. That's pretty much about what it does, especially if you're bass fishing and you're working banks, because you're not using that unless you have live scope or something to find fish. And I just told this kid, I'm like, don't waste your money on a fish finder until you have all the stuff you need for the rest of your kayak. Yeah. Because, and I just tell, and I'm a big proponent of a PFD and wearing a PFD. Yep. Because where we are, a lot of these rivers, the current will drag you under and stick you under a log. And regardless of how good of a swimmer you are, you could still die.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, it's not worth risking it. It definitely isn't. That's someone had recently, in a conversation we had, I think it might have been Derek, actually, from Three Bells, who was saying that a lot of people have this misconception about fish finders finding fish. And he's like, that's kind of an unfortunate name, because really you find the fish. What electronics will really do is show you the cover you can't see, if you can dial it in right. So, like, if there's a brush pile that you're not able to see because of either water visibility or it's just so deep or whatever that situation might be, like, it's not necessarily that. And actually, I don't think I've ever seen a tutorial about using any type of electronics or fish finder or anything like that where they've had like that simple mode. Have you seen some of these electronics rigs where they actually have fish icons that show up? Mm-hmm. And the first thing everybody says is get rid of that mode, because what you really need to see is the cover and the structure that's on the bottom, and figure out like what those little arcs are, if they're actually fish. Or if that's just something in the water. That's once you can find out, like, hey, there's a giant rock pile over here, that's going to be something that some fish is going to relate to. The big question is what time of year, what time of day, you got to kind of figure that stuff out. But yeah, I agree. If a kid were to contact me and say, hey, I'm thinking about getting some electronics, that money could definitely be used elsewhere.
So one of the things that Jeffrey Holloway had said on the podcast with Swamp Rat that I completely agree with is he likes to fish like to relate to where, especially in the deeper parts of lakes where chunk rock and boulders translate to muddy flats. And so right where that line is, fish like to hang out and relate to that structure right next to those flats. And so in times like we just talked about in the summer, for example, when fish kind of relate to that, that line, I forget the name of it, like, where the oxygen is at its most,
a thermocline?
Saturated. Thermocline, yeah. When fish like to relate to the thermocline, a lot of times you'll find those fish in those areas where the rock and the structure of the bottom kind of changes. And so I use like you said, I use electronics to do a lot of that stuff. Find trees, find brush, find boulders, find those places where the flat bottom turns into chunk rock. You talked about cranks. So whenever I see riprap, I always throw on a RK50 or an RK55, which is basically like, for like translation, 5 to 10 or 10 to 15, depending on the depth. And actually, I think they say 4 to 8 or 8 to 12. But anyway, long story short is I like to get that bill of that crankbait on the rock and bouncing off of it. Yeah. And what that does is that creates that reaction strike. And I've caught 35 to 50 fish in a day, just finding riprap and running a crank right across it and slaying them.
That's awesome, man. Now, when you're on your way to the water, what are you generally listening to get yourself like hyped up?
I listen to you guys.
There you go, man. That's the best answer ever.
Yeah, man. I listen to you guys. I listen to Alex, Swamp Rat. There's another couple podcasts I like. A buddy of mine named John Morris has one called Working Class Fishing, which I like to listen to. Whatever it is, I kind of saw this the other day about Instagram. People follow your page. Some people follow it for entertainment. I will say that. But most of the time, what you want people to have is they want to walk away from your page or your post with something that has enhanced their life at that point. Whether that's they learned something new, they were motivated by what they saw, or they're inspired by, how good your picture is or how good your fish is or whatever. And so I kind of take that philosophy when I'm listening to podcasts, and like your Just a Tip segment, for example, is a very good segment that I enjoy thoroughly. Alex, awesome, I learn at a minimum, I learn some sort of new beer to try every time I watch his show or what somebody's like favorite Capicola is or whatever. But yeah, man, I just show. And I also like the fact that I know the people you talk about. Yeah. I know the people that Alex talks about. I know who Delirious is and Wild Bill and Sean the Fisherman and Chris DeBari and all these people are, because we're all Hooks at Hoodlums pro staff, and we all kind of do that thing. But Sean, don't sleep on Sean, because Sean knows a shitload about fishing.
Sean is I like to say he's the Ben Kenobi of bass fishing in Massachusetts. He is a smart dude, and he's got a shitload of experience, and he applies it. Are there other things that can work? Definitely, but he is a smart dude. He knows his shit.
So I'll tell you Sean the Fisherman story. Sean, if you're listening, or you will listen to this, I hope you are inspired by the fact that I learned something from you. I was fishing a pond recently, and I fish a lot of clear water. So I fish like Table Rock's super clear. All those rivers are real clear. Smalley rivers are usually very clear. So I'm always tying on leaders to my braid. And I love braid because it casts further. I'm sure you're aware of all that. Yeah,
I do the same thing.
Yeah, but Sean, gave this like 10-page dissertation in the Hooks at Hoodlums like group chat about braid, fluoro, mono, just kind of broke it all down. Super E equals MC squared type shit.
Oh yeah.
But I was like, I missed a fish. In fact, I broke off on fluoro with a leader, and I was like, Sean said If the water is relatively unclear, fish don't give a shit about braid, especially on top water. So
Yeah.
I tied a 50-pound braid top water whopper plopper on, and I'm standing on a dock that's like, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 feet off the water. And I hook into a 5-pound, and I'll be posting this week, but I hooked into a 5-pound largemouth, and I just ripped the lips off that thing and brought it in, no problem.
Nice.
And, partially owe that, I think, to Sean the Fisherman's advice.
Awesome,
so
man. That's awesome. He's going to love that. It's going to do nothing good for his ego. Jesus.
Well, I also want to add two more things. One, Casey's coffee is legit. In fact, I was drinking Casey's coffee when I heard you on the podcast ask about it.
No kidding. Okay, yes. That's good to know.
100% legit. Huh. Second thing is, if you've never had corn nuggets, now I'm just going to be honest with you. I've never had corn nuggets at Casey's, but there's a barbecue place called Sugar Fire in Kansas City, and they sell fried corn nuggets, and they are the shit. I could eat 55,000 bazillion million of those corn nuggets. They're so damn good.
There is, that's the thing. When Roadkill Nick had mentioned the deep fried corn nuggets, I was thinking, in my mind, of like, what is it? The beaver nuggets from Buc-ee's? Like, those are pretty internet famous.
These are like hush puppies with corn in them.
That's what I was thinking, was something more like that. Oh, dude, that's got to be out of this freaking world.
Yeah, it's dope, dude.
I believe
so
that.
Good.
Yeah, I definitely believe that. Huh. All right, so what's your goal for fishing, say, in the next 5 to 10 years? Where would you like to see it take you?
I'd like to take myself into a position where fishing can supplement my income to a point where I can retire from the military and just focus on fishing. Yeah. And whether that's, so a good friend of mine, well, not a good friend, but a friend of mine named Mike Unruh works for Tackle HD, and he's former military. And Chad Hoover, for example, he founded KBF, but he was active military and retired, and now he does stuff with KBF. So I don't know that I have enough time or experience to be a professional fisherman in the capacity that's going to get me to any point where I'm going to make money for a living in that lifestyle.
Yep.
But what I'd like to do is something fishing related, and whether that's influencer related or working for a company as a social media director, which obviously, like we talked about, I've kind of got a knack for the social media algorithm. I teach people actually I do this on the side. I teach people, whoever DMs me, I usually give them advice and tips on how to grow their page, how to focus their efforts a little more, how to understand their follower ratio. If you look at a lot of my posts, and I get this all the time, if people are like, how do you have so many comments? How do you have so many likes on your posts? And really, it's all hard work and a method. So if you have a method for anything, whether that's breaking down a lake, whether that's fixing a cabinet, whether that's changing a tire, as long as you have a method or an end state and a vision for that particular project, you're generally going to be more successful than if you're just winging it.
Oh yeah.
Like you'll notice, and I don't do this as much anymore because I've kind of gotten to a point where the page sort of grows itself a little bit, but it was like every night it was put the post together in the drafts and have it done. The next day, wake up, share the post immediately, go through all the notifications, and then go through the homepage and like and comment and save and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And then drive to work, answer all the comments that I got on the post that I just shared, go back to the page. And then basically I had a schedule every, so many minutes where I went through all that stuff and did all the same stuff that we talked about. And then if it was a certain day, I would post again, depending on what I needed.
Yeah.
And it just that's how it kind of worked, I kind of just made it very military. But anyway, long story short is I'd like to do something where either I'm consulting on social media, working for a company that has something to do with fishing that allows me to do some fishing and traveling and talking to cool dudes like you, on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Or, and I'd like particularly to find something that gives me flexibility on where I live.
Yeah. I think that's the dream right there. And that's the beauty of it. It's like, there's so many different ways that you can make this, your life, your livelihood, really. If you're just, willing to be open-minded, like you don't have to be a tournament angler and, cash these huge checks necessarily. If that's the road you want to go down, that's one whole other thing. But, you look at I think a great example, just like you said, is Joe from Old Glory Outdoors, active military. And he says all the time, Old Glory is his retirement plan. That's the idea. He wants to build that up and, that's his deal. And I think that he's a guy that just genuinely eats, sleeps and lives fishing 24/7. And he is just dedicated to it and making it happen. And like you said, you nailed it. Influencer. That is the next phase. I think it was an episode, I think it was Tackle Talk, and Andrew Hayes was talking with Bill Dance. And Bill Dance said something, and it stopped me in my kitchen from what I was doing. And I was like, whoa. And I just realized something. Bill Dance and I have something that is unbelievably in common. I think Andrew asked him what the biggest struggle was. Being, doing the television show and working with all these tackle companies and everything else, what's the biggest struggle? And he goes, the biggest struggle that you're never going to solve is the struggle with yourself trying to deliver quality enough content with some value that can be taken away by the viewer. So you're always, always, always looking to try to provide value and increase the level of value that you have for that. And I realized I was just like, Dude, Bill Dance was he's one of the OG influencers before influencer was the word, before that was the term. I'm just like, that is unbelievable. We're all we kind of fill that role. And that's why, whether you rep certain companies or you're, on different pro staff or something like that, and you're pushing products, or maybe you're making your own products. It's it's all a grind, and we're all grinding together, That's the beauty about it. The whole thing is community. I'm sold on that 100%,
Yeah, dude. So I look at a guy like you, or people that make YouTube videos or reels or whatever, and I look at it through a different lens than I used to.
Yeah.
I look at this reel and I go, okay, that took forever, or that's really imaginative, or your podcast, for example, the different segments, how you integrate stuff, commercials, breaks, people, all that stuff is completely planned out. And I can appreciate that from a creator perspective. Right. And I think you've kind of noticed, and I don't know if you have, but I have noticed, for example, I did this project with a company called Garage Royalty, which is not necessarily a fishing company, but they reached out to me and they're trying to get into the outdoorsy market, you know? And so they said, hey, we'll send you some stuff. We'll give you a commission on whatever, people use your code for. You just have to, do these certain things. So I spent a lot of time on this. I put it up in my garage. I videoed it, pictures, all that stuff.
I think I remember seeing that.
Yeah. It turned out great. In fact, and look, I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you, dude. I pay very little attention to how organized my garage is. My wife does all that stuff, but I devoted myself to this. I agreed to this, and I don't make money. I'm probably not going to make any money off of it. We got some free stuff for the garage. My wife liked it and it looks great. But that post bombed. It just sucked. It got 347 likes or something. And and I'm averaging 7 to 9, depending on the post.
Wow,
and so, but my point is people will gravitate to I would like to say genuinity. Is that a word? I don't know if that's a word, but I've had more people react to the fact that I lost a fish and did a hiatus karate kick because I lost the fish and I was pissed off about it. And they got to see me like suck than, me holding this like 10-pounder and going like, hey, look at this, giant fish. And so my point is people like to relate.
Yeah.
I relate to you.
Definitely.
A lot in a lot of aspects. And I understand your struggle and burden. And so, I appreciate that about you and your page and your grind and all you got going on. And that goes for everybody I see on Instagram. There's people like all the time. I'm like, dude, I don't know. People say that to me all the time. They're like, I don't know how you have a full-time job, a family, you do all this stuff and then you still have time to do all this Instagram stuff. And it's like, I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it.
Yeah, that's exactly. You got to do it, and that's what I say to everybody. There, especially now. This is such a crazy time. I'm seeing people out like in my regular job, where I'll be doing gigs, and I'll see people I haven't seen in well over a year and a half. It's just been a while, and I'll see folks, and they're like, "So how's everything going?" And then I tell them, I'm like, "So they're like, yeah, my business was decimated, so I started this podcast." And now it's like a thing, and it's a thing to the point where like now I've got to get to the point where it makes enough money to make it worth it, because it takes time, and that's the whole thing. Like it's all about finding that out. This was, now this is something that's like a goal. Like I'm working on trying to bring that to like that next level. So like, even when I see somebody out there that's grinding and doing, they're working as either an influencer, or they're just creating content for the sake of building an audience. I know when I spoke to Debo, he even said the content he was making initially was purely selfishness to like kind of put all of his adventures in one spot where he could relive them, let alone anybody else. And then all of a sudden, it turned into this whole thing. And like for him, it's really taken off. Like he's absolutely killing it. So it's like when I see the amount of effort people put into stuff like this, I totally appreciate it. I know that there are some content creators out there that get a hard time for some of their methods or something along those lines. Maybe they put the social media first or whatever, and maybe comments get made from other professionals that are, for whatever reason, maybe they disagree or they're jealous, or I don't know what the situation is, but I definitely I'm like, if it's working for you, go for it. There's no reason why we can't all be happy, and there's a role.
Yeah, dude. And that's my total motto with Instagram is, and I don't know if a lot of times we float in the same circles and we kind of see this. I tell people a lot of times it's like high school.
Yep.
Sometimes you can kind of get into a clique or a popularity club. And, but what I really try to do is, I try to interact with somebody on a daily basis that enhances their life in some way. And I try to genuinely give my opinion on whatever it is that they're doing.
Yep.
And that has, in my opinion, come back to me tenfold, 20-fold, 30-fold. People are great.
Yeah.
And you never know, like people could disappear and you don't know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
They may be gone for something very bad. Their mom died, their kid has cancer, or whatever. And you can't just assume, Bobby Roast Beef didn't comment on my post today, so he's a jerk.
Exactly.
No, it's like Bobby Roast Beef might have something fucking going on, and I'm gonna keep commenting on Bobby Roast Beef's posts because maybe he fucking needs that.
That's the idea.
So that's how I feel about it, man. I feel like Instagram is a platform to promote positivity and share something that I love with people. And and I'm not like you said, like, what's your weaknesses? Well, my weaknesses are weightless Senko fishing. I don't have enough patience to let thing get to where I don't. I can't fish weightless. I totally suck at that. I suck at fishing main lake points with like football jigs and giant worms. I know that that's something I need to figure out how to do because I have a lot of main lake points, and especially when they're drawing water out or pushing water through, those main lake points are where fish congregate. But I can't figure out the structure to fish that spot like I should.
Yeah.
And I'll watch people like left and right of me catching fish, and I'm like,
what am I doing wrong? Right.
What the hell? You know? And so my point is I'm not perfect. I'm obviously not Bill Dance or Brandon Palinuk or however you say that guy's name, but I think kind of like you, we all are grinding and trying to get there. And you have, and to back to that point, dude, you're so talented at this. You have a great thing going. It's really good. I
appreciate it, man.
You know, and I have discerning tastes.
Yeah.
I'm very I tell people I don't like things that suck.
Yeah.
So your show definitely doesn't suck, man.
That's awesome,
for real.
Man. That's huge. That's awesome. Let's say like you're going out for a day of fishing. What's your general arsenal of rods look like?
Perfect. Yeah. So I got a 7.3 medium heavy jigging rod, old 18, which I love. It's a hollow point, and it's got a Metanium 6.4 to 1 on it.
Oh, nice.
I would have liked to have a higher ratio to kind of like yank fish out of like brush. But I wanted it to give away, so it's kind of is what it is. But I love that rod and reel combo. My second rod and reel combo is a 7-foot medium light spinning rod with 15-pound braid and an 8-pound fluorocarbon leader that I use for Ned rig, wacky rig, any of that sort of thing. The other two rods that I have, which is kind of crazy because is a jerkbait rod, and I don't know if you ever fish with a jerkbait.
Oh yeah.
But the perfect rod for a jerkbait, in my opinion, is a 6'6" medium action bait caster rod made by whoever. Mine's made by St. Croix, which is irrelevant, but something that has like a medium action and a fast tip that you can put like a 10-pound fluorocarbon on. And then fish a suspending jerkbait on, which I love that rod.
It's so funny you say that. That's what I caught my last PB on. That's what I caught my last PB on. Was a medium action fast tip. The rod I use is a 7.3, but even that, it's just ridiculous. Suspending jerkbait. It's a great combo.
And then the last one is like the emergency rod. So it's like if I can't catch a bass and I want to feel good about myself, then I'll throw on that G Limus IMX and try to catch a crappie or a bluegill or something kind of small just to do that with. But that's like my four main, and then everything else is kind of a relative duplicate of that 6'6" medium action for if I want to tie on a couple more finesse baits. My favorite brand right now is Old 18, obviously, you know that, but not just because I rep that company. Like I can't tell you how I'm so impressed with that company and its rods and how they do business. And like, you know this, dude, you're a hook set guy. I know you're with Stretching Lines and you do some stuff with 3 Bells. Is that the name of it? Yeah. And I'm sure you get offers all the time. We all do, you know, and you have to pick and choose who you're going to ride with.
Yeah.
And we don't ride with people that we don't believe in. And I'm telling you that rod company is, they're really great, man. I dig it. And I know that like Loomis and St. Croix and all these other companies are obviously doing good things, but you know, I kind of like to support veteran-owned companies because it's kind of near and dear to my heart.
Sure.
You know?
And
they're completely made in the USA too. So
yeah, you're absolutely right. That's the whole thing. It's part of the reason why, like when we started, I wish I could say that we chose to do this, but we got lucky where we partnered real early on with Old Glory. And the beautiful thing about Old Glory is that Old Glory is a retailer of all these amazing brands of gear. So now what's kind of nice is because we do that, we get to be choosy about what we do. Like I recently, just this year, fell head over heels for Arc rods and baits. I've been using the Brandon Cobb series rods for most of my stuff. We gave away an Invoker in the May tournament, an Invoker spinning combo. An Invoker was an Arc Invoker rod with I think it's a Ducket Paradigm reel, and I mean just absolutely killer stuff. So it's like that's the thing, like you're right, you got to pick and choose, but I wish I could say that was like we planned it this way, but it was a happy accident. And we're in a good position because Joe works with amazing brands, and he's always looking to bring in more and more amazing stuff. And like you said, Joe, veteran owned, and any veteran owned companies that are out there, he's paying attention to that kind of shit too, which is awesome. It's just killer. But that's the whole thing. I'm like, I think anybody who asks us about partnering or anything like that, it's got to be something really special. Like one of the only pro staffs that I'm on, aside from Hookset, is Reaction Tackle. And Reaction Tackle.
I actually just bought some Reaction Tackle tonight.
Oh, really?
I did, yeah.
I could have saved you some money. I got a promo code.
I'm sorry, dude. I was in Dick's Sporting Goods, so you know the deal. Like you're going to the lake and you're like, shit, I forgot, whatever it is. So you stop at Dick's Sporting Goods and you're like, okay, I need like a creature bait to sled on my jig. So,
oh yeah. Oh, are you thinking Reaction Innovations?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Is that different?
Yeah. Reaction Tackle, they do mainly fishing line, some terminal tackle. They do a lot of tungsten, and they do accessories, like interesting stuff. Like they make 3 different types of bait binders. They make pliers. They do, what else do they do that's really interesting? I really like their shaky heads. I really like their underspins. They're the weedless style with the screw lock.
I love those.
Unbelievable. Like, I think it was, and I found them by accident. Like, I had received in a mystery tackle box I think it's heavy metals tungsten, what they call the, what is the name of their? I forget. It's a tungsten underspin, and I wanted to order more. And this is like during the real heft of the shutdown. Just couldn't get any. And I'm like, all right, well, let's look at Amazon and see what we can stumble across. And I found that they look exactly the same, these tungsten underspins from Reaction Tackle, and they were just a better deal. I think there were 3 in a package for like $1 or $2 more. It was unbelievable, the value. So I said, screw it, I'm going to try them. And I started getting on some fish with them. I'm like, these are great. And I contacted them and I said, look, do you guys have a pro staff? And they did. So they put me on, and I just, every once in a while share something. But, if people are looking for braid or if they're looking for fluoro, I'm like, this is good stuff. I like to use it. I haven't had any issues with it. It is what it is.
That brings up an interesting point. So a couple things on that. The braid and fluoro is a good thing because you generally don't need to buy that like right now. And so that would be something I would definitely be interested in. But that's kind of how I got onto X-Zone, sort of. I won some X-Zone on a giveaway from, I don't know if you follow Tennessee Yak and Tackle, but this guy named Vern is that guy, and he's a great dude. But I won his giveaway, and it was full of X-Zone. And then I have a third-party app that kind of tells me who gives me like the most likes and comments and stuff like that. So I can kind of track that stuff. And X-Zone had like 30 of my posts out of 30 of my posts. So like the last 30 posts I had posted, they had given me 30 likes and I think like 15 comments. And they were the top liker and the top commenter on every one of my posts. And so I always tell people, pay attention to who's paying attention to you. Yeah. And so I reached out to them. I said, hey, look, I really appreciate the support. I'd like to reciprocate. Is there something that I can do to reciprocate? And they said, well, Brandon, we're glad you contacted us. Can you fill out this pro staff thing and we'll put you on? So they put me on, and it's been nothing but sunshine and rainbows, man. And that product, and again, like I said, and you said, if you've ever fished with X-Zone, you kind of know it just feels different. Like I don't know, the action is better. The quality of the plastic is like better. It's, the floating claws obviously make a difference. That's what their kind of their motto is.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It's a great product, man. And I stand by it.
Yeah. They're good stuff. There's a number of baits that I've used from them that I like. And I was introduced to X-Zone through Old Glory. They were one of the first batch of brands that he brought on. And I think it was the Adrenaline Bug.
Yep.
I think it was the Adrenaline Bug was the first thing I had success with. And then I tried the Muscle Crawl on our jig, our PB&J jig, the Absolutely. And I was with Delirious, and I put like three in the boat between 16 and 18. And I was just like, this is fantastic. This is great.
Yeah, dude.
And
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was killer. And you're right. Like, I mean, I love the fact that, like, the claws float. That's a huge deal. They make a killer drop shot bait too.
They do.
I think is it the Slammer?
Yeah, no, it is. I only caught when I went to Arizona, which is kind of a long story, but that was the only bait I could catch a fish on there, was a drop shot with that Slammer.
Oh, no kidding.
In purple.
Yep. It's a good color. It's a damn good color. Random question. Favorite chicken joint? Caveat being that it's got to have either a drive-through or be sold in a gas station. This is the dumbest question.
I kind of like Cane. I like Cane's, dude. I'm not gonna lie.
Cane's?
I like Cane's.
All right. No worries. Is it the sauce or is it the chicken?
No, straight up the chicken.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I don't even know what sauces they have because I never order them.
Yeah.
I'm a meatitarian, bro. So
gotcha.
I gotta do it straight up. In fact, I just bought 2 pounds of walleye. So my dad's coming down tomorrow.
Nice.
And I'm gonna fry up some walleye for him for Father's Day. So
that's awesome, man.
I love me some meat, man.
Yeah, definitely. I just picked up a 10-quart outdoor fryer specifically. Specifically for the what do you call it? Boats and Scroats challenge. That is happening. It is happening. We just got to nail down a date. I think some people are afraid. And I'm like, trust me, bull testicles are wonderful. Rocky Mountain oysters are great.
You just gotta think of them like they're not attached to like a cow dick.
Yeah, I'm not going to serve them up to the loser of this challenge. Like, they're not going to be eating like a breaded, fried set of truck nuts. No, like these are going to be cut into nuggets. They're just going to be testicles. That's it.
Yeah, man, like clams.
Yeah, exactly.
Only bigger.
Exactly. Just like big clams. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. There's nothing to worry about. Oh, man.
All right.
So this is always this is like the big like meat and potatoes of this whole interview right here. There's 2 stories that I need from you. One is like the story where you're like most proud about something that happened out on the water. It could be a PB, it could be an amazing catch, it could be teaching somebody something. It might be something that went like terribly wrong and you were able to like correct it. And then on the other side of things, I need the biggest sort of moment from when you're out on the water. And the hardest part about that second one is we all have so many of those stories.
Yeah, I got that one, no doubt.
Yeah, that's easy.
The proudest one, so I think that was kind of recent. So, you pick up a lot of things from, especially anecdotes from, kind of in the fishing community, but one of the things I take away a lot is never leave fish to find fish, which
definitely
I have done in the past a lot, and I've decided against that. But I kind of have to give credit to this guy named Brian Reed, who, if you don't follow him, I mean, Ryan's an awesome guy. And he's a kayak bass fisherman in Missouri, and he fishes on the Moyak Trail. But and I met him on Instagram, and he's the guy with that private Finley Lake access that we get to use occasionally. But he taught me how to fish brush, and specifically how to drag jigs through brush. And so I have added that to my arsenal. And then I had a buddy on Instagram named Joe Wildhaber, who has a page called Joe Wild 19. But he fishes Lake of the Ozarks, and he had come out with some success. And he said, "Hey, dude, you need to fish Main Lake points. They're drawing water out, and football jigs, and big shaky heads are killing it right now on Main Lake points." And I just told you earlier that I suck at fishing Main Lake points. So of course that's where all the fish are, right?
Of course, yeah.
So I drive out on my boat at 5 a.m. I get up early as shit, and the water's glass, and I never get up early, which we also talked about. And I go out to this Main Lake point, and I'm having I actually caught a really nice spot off this point on a jig with an X-Zone lure. California 420 is my favorite X-Zone color for that adrenaline crawl. And I had tied on a Flirt Skirt Fishing, which I don't know if you know Flirt Squirt, but they have great jigs. In fact, I have never missed a hookup on a jig with that jig. Really? But anyway, I find a dock on a Main Lake point with brush, and I'm like, that has to have fish in it. Oh, yeah. I'm going to throw this jig in that brush, and I'm going to catch a fish. And so it was kind of like A plus B equals C. As a fisherman, you love that, right? You're like, okay, this guy told me to go to a Main Lake point. I went to a Main Lake point. I find brush. I have a jig. I'm throwing the jig in the brush, and I pulled 6 3.5-pound fish out of that brush. So, and I didn't leave fish to find fish. Yep. I threw a jig in there, and of course, like you all do this, like you flip the jig into like the cup, like that's like a thing, you know?
Yep. Oh yeah.
People do that. So I flipped the jig into the brush. The second it hits the water, smash, fish. Bring the fish in, 17 inches, something like that. Yep. Throw it in a live well. Throw it back in there. Boom, another fish. 16 inches, throw it in a live well. And I just did that for 30 minutes. And I caught 6 fish, 3.5 pounds. And by 7 a.m, and I was like, shit, I got so many pictures. Like that old 18 picture I just posted, that was one of those fishes.
No kidding.
One of those fish. So yeah. But my aw shit moment is so we're content creators, so we go out and we kind of like have these great ideas and stuff, and it's winter time, it's cold. I'm fishing for crappie. I go out and I catch these huge crappie, 14, 15 inches. I got a couple of them.
Yep.
I have this phone. I put it up on the front of the boat. I go in to get this fish out. The fish flops around. I go to grab it. I knock the phone on the stand, right into the water. And it's in 25 feet of water. So I had my iPhone, which I think it has 9,000. At the time, I had 9,000 pictures on it. And I don't know how many. And of course, all of the pictures I was taking for Instagram that day is in the water. I almost fell in going after it, but I missed it. And the water's 45 degrees. It's middle of the winter. I'm at the lake. There's nobody here. It's 8 at night.
Yep.
It's dark as shit. And so I have no phone. My wife thinks I'm dead. I'm at the Lake of the Ozarks. The fucking T-Mobile store isn't open. I don't have my Apple ID. What's even dumber is that I took a picture of my Apple ID and put it on my phone. So accessing that Apple ID is impossible. Then you tell Apple, I don't have my Apple ID. And they tell you, okay, well, we're going to send a text to your phone. Well, that's great, because the fucking phone is at the bottom of the lake over here.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So what they do is they review your case. And you know how long it takes them to review your case?
I'm sure it takes forever.
14 days.
Are you for real?
I'm for real. So I got a new phone the next day, but I couldn't put my Apple ID in that phone. And you know what you need an Apple ID for? Downloading Instagram, getting to your pictures, going to your Gmail,
the
basically
cloud,
like
anything.
Apple. Yeah, everything. So I spent like basically 14 days like jerry rigging my way through my life until I got my Apple ID back, because I was taking pictures of two crappie like this, and one of those fish fell out and hit that phone and went right into the water. So I lost poles and stuff, but that was the dumbest shit I've ever done.
That sucks. You know, I was out it was Father's Day. I was out with my buddy, and we're fishing in the kayak, and I had a moment where I was like, you know, a year ago, I wouldn't be grabbing my phone and just like I like to listen to music while I'm fishing. So I usually just play music right on my phone. New kayak's gonna have a small Bluetooth speaker, and I just take my phone out and I'm like taking pictures. You know, I make a catch, take pictures, pop it back in my pocket. I'm like, you know, I'm gonna get lazier and lazier about this, and I'm gonna end up dropping this in the water. So, and it was so just bizarre because I think a week prior, I was at Three Bells with Sean, and we're standing there looking at cell phone tethers. And he's like, this one's pretty good, but he's like, this one kind of fits my phone a little bit weird. And, you know, like sometimes the back strap goes over the camera lens. So in a tournament, that can really be a problem. And I'm just like, yeah, I guess I don't really need one right now. I think I'm going to just go for it. Even if I end up buying several, it's worth it. Because I'll tell you, you said 14 days it took for them to review your case. Like, remember... I'm old enough to be like, how far things have come where we're just like, I can't survive without this object, you know?
Yes.
I mean, like, it's crazy. But in 1985, it would just be like, oh, well, you know, I guess I'm going to have to go buy another 35 millimeter camera. And yeah, I mean, it would take 14 days to get those photos back.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So I turned 40 this month. Next month, July. So I'm with you, man.
You don't look like you're 40 at all, man. I figured you were way younger than that. Way younger than that.
I got a baby face. I can't grow that beautiful beard, bro. That thing, I'm digging it.
Appreciate it, man. It's crazy. I actually, so you know the story. I had this was my end of the world beard. I was like, hey, the only reason I haven't grown a full beard in forever is because as a performer, you know, there's this awkward sort of stage, and I'm like, I got to go and do these shows, and I've got people are getting married, and I'm officiating the wedding. I'm like, you don't need the homeless beard. You know, we got to get past that. So I'm like, I can't work. I'm just going to grow it all out. And it was glorious. And then in September, I messed up grooming, and I had to shave it off. And I left the mustache and the soul patch, and I looked like every bad guy in every Western that there's ever
I wish
been.
I'd have seen that.
Oh, there's some pictures on Instagram. It's terrible. It's god awful.
I'm going to look at it.
And I went and I said, screw it. I said, I'm going to grow it back. So I started, and I kept it real short for a while. And I just said, screw it. I'm going to go all in on this. And I actually just took a position as an ambassador for a brand of beard products, like beard wash, conditioners, oils, things like that. So technically, I guess I'm a beard model, which is hilarious.
You fucking are. Yeah. Yeah, dude. I grew a mustache out in Iraq for No Shave November.
Yep.
And I actually can grow a pretty good mustache, but I cannot grow a beard like you got going on there. That thing is, and I bet that stuff's gonna help with like itching and all that other stuff.
Oh yeah,
too.
all that stuff. Oh my God, it's amazing. And just talk about like getting things like in, because I got some crazy directions. Like everything tries to grow a certain way, and I'm able to kind of handle it. I went to go see a barber for the first time in 20 years. Ever since I started shaving my head, because I was like losing my hair, and I was in my early 20s. And I'm like, yeah, shaving my head. Not going back to the barber. That's a waste of money. And I went back to go have this mess just kind of wrangled. And I'm like, all right, this is good. Because I thought for the same time, I was like, I can't grow a full beard. It's just not going to look right. You just got to force it. You know what I mean? And like, let it go.
Oh, yeah, dude. I cut my own hair for COVID. for like 9 months.
Oh, I believe it, man. A lot of us did a lot of weird shit during COVID.
But not like, it wasn't bad. You have to cut your hair more often because you can't be as aggressive with how you cut it.
Yeah, that's
true. You're not
true.
as good at it.
Yeah.
So you just kind of have to take it in like small increments.
Yep.
Kind of like you're talking about, like you screwed it up and then you had to shave it all off.
Yep.
I did that once when I first started cutting my own hair. I had to go into a barber and get them to fix it. And then after that, it was always like, I'm just going to take I'm not going any further than a number 2 on this, because if I go any lower than a number 2, I'm going to screw up the fade and it's going to look like shit. So we're just going to do it this way.
Yep. Yeah, it's tough, man. Look at this. Unreal. Well, Brandon, go ahead, man. Tell everybody where they can find you on social media. If you have anything, special coming up, or drop a promo code or two if you want, go for it. This is an opportunity to promote yourself.
Awesome, dude. So any of my codes if you go to my Instagram profile, you'll see a rep Old 18, X-Zone, Outdoor Vibe, Slam and Slobs, Team No Fish. Any of those companies, if you put in the code Dust Off, you'll get some level of discount. Old 18's Hookset Hoodlums, you'll get 10% off Hookset Hoodlums. Old 18's 20%. Any of those other companies is 10%, except X-Zone. You'll have to DM me for the code on that, but you'll get 20% on that code there.
Nice.
I'm on dustoff_fishing and Instagram. I have a YouTube page as well with one video on it. That's kind of where I want to expand my brand a little bit more in the future. I just bought a GoPro Hero 9. So nice. I have a 7, so I'll have 2 GoPros now. And what you're going to kind of see out of me coming up is the Canada trips in August. So my goal is to take enough batteries and memory cards to document the entire thing, and then put it out as like a kind of mini docuseries for everybody on the gram and everybody on YouTube. So I think you'll enjoy that, especially all the banter. I don't know if you've ever spent like a week with one other person in a kayak or a canoe, but you have some interesting conversation with somebody. You spend 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in a small little boat. So
I believe it.
It'll be fun. We'll have some good clips and it'll be a good time.
That's awesome. Those, like that kind of series, like sort of documenting a trip, that's my favorite stuff. Like that is 100% my favorite stuff. Like there's John B. He's a fishing content creator. He does there's 2 series, the Never Stop Tour. He's got this tagline he uses, keep fishing, never stop. And he's done these trips where he goes out with somebody and it's like, we're going to go in this one direction. We're going to go west. We're going to go south or north or wherever. And they go on this adventure and they document the whole thing. And like, he's done other stuff where he's done like in Texas, I think it's the Devil's River. Like, I just find that to be the most fascinating kind of stuff. But on your trip, this is what you want. One of these guys. Solar powered battery. Yeah. This is a great investment. This one's huge. It's heavy, but I could charge my GoPro. I could run my GoPro for days. I'm pretty convinced with this one battery alone. And, with the solar, you can charge it back up. It's awesome.
Yeah, man. That's my goal, is to buy like a 128 for each day on the memory card, and then have something like what you just pulled out there to basically run one battery per day, hopefully, but have extras just in case I need them.
Oh, definitely.
But yeah, that's kind of the goal, man. And I hope I think if I could improve anything, it'd probably be video editing.
Yep.
Specifically. So
huge challenge. Editing it's part of the reason why I went with podcasting. Editing audio, there's so much less to it. It's just it just for me it works. I feel like it's my strongest asset. But Brandon, this was
awesome.
Great,
man.
I appreciate it. Thank you. This is awesome. Do me a favor, man. If we're going to use one of your images for the artwork for this episode, so if there's a pic of you holding like a giant, or if you want to use something, whatever image you want to utilize, I'll take that and we'll kind of work it into our style, the way we kind of make it work over here, and we'll go ahead and pop that on. And you're probably going to run on. Let's see. The 29th is that. You're probably going to run on the 6th. It'll be pretty awesome.
Amazing.
Nice. Yeah, we're going to have you on, I think, for the 6th. It's going to be an interesting show that day, too, because I don't know. We're going to talk about the fishing I just did today. Your story about tossing that jig, or no, what was it you tossed? Hit right on the top. Like right as soon as it hit the water, I had that happen today, and I needed that fish. I'm going to be in Vegas for 7 days. I'm not going to bass fish for a while. I'm like, yeah, I need to catch a fish today.
So there's a guy.
Yep.
I don't know if you are looking to fish in Vegas, but there's a guy named Smacking Bass. Okay, well, there's a guy named James who runs an account called Smacking Bass, who's a cool dude, and he lives in Vegas, and he can hook you up with a fishing spot at least, if not take you. And he's real interesting. He does Geomexis handles. He's got Naqua as one of his companies. I know that's kind of a Sean the Fisherman favorite.
Yep. Oh yeah, Naqa's great.
But yeah, he's legit, man, and he's a cool dude. In fact, he used to have like 60,000 followers on an account where he was like a snake handler. So he had like fucking like 20 feet reticulated pythons and shit in his house. Anyway, long story short, guy's cool, awesome guy, super dude. I'll shoot you his profile, but he's a good dude, and he could probably give you a couple spots to fish, if anything. If you're interested, take one of those like collapsible rods. Don't let your wife know about it.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to go like do something real quick.
I'm afraid how much money we might lose if I leave her alone. That's the worst part. I'm like, she's not that. Today I come home. This is amazing. Today I come home. And I was running errands, getting things ready for our trip. I get home, and she is packing our suitcase, and she is watching slot machine strategy videos. I'm like,
there's no such thing, man. You just got to pull the handle.
Well,
hope it works out.
I was sitting there, and this one guy, I think his name was Professor Slots. I think his name was friggin' Professor Slots. So he's talking about this, and he's as he's explaining his method, which is the 5-pole method, I'm like, my fishing radar is going off. I'm like, this sounds a lot to me like, how long do you work a brush pile before you're like, screw it, I've invested enough time, it's time to move on. I'm like, oh man, I hate that I get this. But I'm not much of a gambler. She really isn't either. She hates losing, but like, that's the thing. I know if I leave her alone, she's going to be bored, and
Just remember, dude, hit on 13 or lower, stay on 14 or higher.
Yeah.
You'll be good.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. I love it, man. Yeah. Well, hey, send me one of those pics. We'll get this together for you. It'll run on the 6th. I think it'll be awesome. All
right, buddy. Awesome. I appreciate you having me.
Oh, this is great. This is really, really great. I haven't had a really good interview. Like we talked for over an hour and a half.
It felt like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm saying. Like this is really good. So awesome, dude. I appreciate you.
All right, man.
All right.
I'll holler at you later.
Have a good one. Take care.
See ya.
See ya. Going to make it the end of another amazing show. We had a lot of hurdles to jump over to make this show kind of happen, with travel all kind of coming to the end, and pre-producing an episode and making it was a lot to juggle, but we managed to make sure that you guys had an episode each and every week without missing a beat, and that is something that we really pride ourselves on over here at Jigs and Bigs. So good one. Sean, what did you think of this show? How do you feel? How are you feeling about all this?
I'm on vacation. I want to go fishing.
I can't say that I blame you, my friend. I cannot say that I blame you at all. Let's go ahead. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up in this final segment here, guys. Before we do want to give a quick shout out to Cheryl. Cheryl, again, is just killing it with the amazing fishing report. Go check it out, northeastwildwoman.com. That is her blog, and where we house the Jigs and Bigs fishing report. And we have fantastic pool of amazing jig heads that provide us with great information from all pockets of what we consider to be the western part of this state, Massachusetts. Great stuff. Hope you guys get some useful info out of there. Let us know if you get a tip off the fishing report. Shoot us a DM or drop us an email at jigsandbigs413@gmail.com. Send us a message. Let us know if some information from the fishing report maybe got you on some fish. Maybe you broke a PB. Who knows? Maybe it was just a dink, but it was a day where you needed that dink. Maybe that's the case. We do have amazing merch available at jigsandbigs.com. As always, we have some new designs potentially in the works. Some stuff is happening over here, folks, and this might just be one of those relationships that just kind of fell in our lap with what could end up being additional merch for you guys. So if you haven't been over to the store to check it out, or you're curious when things might shift around over there with offering some new stuff, go and visit jigsandbigs.com and check out the merchandise store. Yeah.
No, you and I discussed it, man. Are we still planning at some point on having stickers up there for everybody?
Yeah, I think that is the plan. It might not necessarily be directly through their store. We'll have to work out the details. We might also start including, some bonuses here and there, with merch down the road. There's a lot of potential collaborations that we're trying to get in order. I don't want to say too much, but this could be some fun and exciting things for those that enjoy rocking the Jigs and Bigs stuff. And if you have some of the new Jigs and Bigs merch and you're catching some fish while wearing it, send us your catches. Make sure to send us all your stuff because we're trying to go through. And actually, I tried to make a video of all the fish from the May tournament, and I'm still working on it because that is a huge undertaking. I didn't realize how crazy that was going to be when I said I was going to produce a video with all those fish, but wow. So that's going to be there. That's going to be, it'll be coming, but
I remember when you said, Sean, send me all the pictures, and I kind of looked at you and said,
are you sure?
All of them?
It's a lot. It's a lot. And then, because I'm seeing these pictures, I'm like, well, I don't want to put too many caught by the same person together. So when we have somebody who's just absolutely crushing it and they're on every single board, I'm like, okay, I got to shuffle these up. And so it was very daunting. It was one of those things that I was trying to work on the plane, and their fantastic Wi-Fi was super helpful. I use air quotes when I say fantastic, because downloading these pictures took forever. But hey, we'll get there. We'll get there. It's all going to come together.
Cool.
Good stuff. Great stuff, in fact. I think that about does it for us, man. I do. I feel like this is a great episode. I feel like you guys, if you have not fully celebrated your Independence Day, this is a great opportunity to do so. And go ahead and make this the biggest week ever. Guys, thank you so much for checking out this podcast. We appreciate you more than you realize. Remember, all your information that you could possibly need from us is at jigsandbigs.com. Remember, our fans are the best. Our listeners, they're the best ever. Like, you guys are, this shit couldn't happen without you. We appreciate you. And if you love this show and you think somebody that is in your network might also like this show, share it with them. Send them over to jigsandbigs.com. Send them a link to wherever it is that you listen to the show. Write a review for us. Get some of this. If you really love it, put a review together on Apple Podcasts or wherever it is that you are listening to this show. Thanks again, everybody. We will see you guys in 7 days. Have yourselves a great one, everybody. Take good care. We got more great guests coming up. We'll see you. Get on some fish. Tight line.